Bon après-midi à tous et bienvenue à cette rencontre du comité de dérogation pour la Ville d'Ottawa. Welcome everyone to this hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. We are Panel 1, Urban, and Groupe 1, Urbain. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances, consents, and more frequently, permission applications as well. So our hearings are back to being in person, as we have essentially equally people participating online as people are in the room. That is at your discretion. All you need to do if you wanted to participate virtually is to speak with committee staff about getting the proper links to do that. You also are being live streamed on YouTube, and both the agenda and that video are archived and available for future viewing on the committee's website. So my name is Anne Tremblay, and I'll be the chair for this hearing today. With me are my fellow panel members, and starting at my right, Member Blatherwick, Member Decailly, Member Coakley, and Member Kickligan. So in terms of procedure, we have an agenda that you saw, the list at the beginning of the meeting. We change up that order based on different things, whether or not it's a fairly straightforward application, whether or not the full presentations are required, or essentially that's it. So we will move it around that way. So not necessarily in the order that you saw. Then what we do is we'll call you down for the hearing on that application. And typically what we do is we hear from the applicant first, and then the panel gets an opportunity to ask any clarification questions from either the applicant or from city staff. So once the panel has had a chance to get all of their questions asked, then at that point, we can open it up for a public hearing portion. And then what we do is we start with the speakers list. We'll call people down per application, whoever's registered, and then we'll open it up to anyone else in the audience. In some cases, we will ask you for a presentation. In some cases, we will not ask for a presentation. So also there is a requirement under the Planning Act for statutory public notification. Each applicant is required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They also are required to confirm in writing or verbally sometimes that in fact the requirements of that Planning Act regulations has been met. And in this case, my understanding is that we have everybody's statutory declaration, so that's good news. So from there, what I'll ask is if you come down, be sure to direct all your comments to the chair, and I may ask you to spell your name if you're not on the speakers list. And just be mindful, the presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exceptions are at the chair's discretion. So at the end of the hearing on an application, the panel can either make an oral decision or we can reserve a decision. It doesn't mean that we don't make the decision today. We still make the decision today. But sometimes what happens is we hear enough oral evidence that we didn't have prior to coming in here. So the panel does prepare before coming into this hearing. We also have a pre-meet for any last minute information and clarifications on the actual documentation that's submitted. And then we show up at this hearing. So in some cases, it can go relatively quickly. Sometimes we do have to reserve because we have that new evidence despite having reviewed all of the information ahead of being in the hearing. So in all cases, though, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send an official written decision and the reasons for that decision to any party, participant, or anyone who has requested a copy of the decision. So, any questions? All right. So we have a number of business items before we get underway. Need to ask the members if there's anyone with a declaration of conflict of interest on either the agenda items for our panel or the other two panels. Yes, Member Kickligan.
Madam Chair, I will be recusing myself from item number 2 as the property affected by the proposal is in my neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Okay, so we don't have minutes to approve today. So I think we're going to go to adjournments. Now, we don't have any official requests for adjournments at this point, but there's two applications that we should have a discussion about, whether or not an adjournment is appropriate. And I'm going to call down number 348 Olmsted Street. Looking for the agent? Do we have the agent in the room or online? Online. Okay, so let's wait for, I think it's Miss McQuaid, is it? Yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Good afternoon, Ms. McQuaid. So our understanding from our discussions prior to the meeting is that in fact, a second permission application is likely required, or the expansion of the permission application that you have now to apply to the property next door to 20 Heritage Maple Way. Is that correct?
So just to clarify, it is all one property. There are currently two buildings on the same property. And so planning staff had some correspondence with a zoning plans examiner. And given their discussion, they wanted this permission application, which will cover both, to have the wording amended so that it captures both. So there was the requested change in wording in the planning report that was provided by Penelope Horn. We are aware that Ms. Williams had identified that a recirculation was likely going to be requested. We are okay with that direction if that is the direction that the committee would like to take.
I think it's sort of an abundance of caution approach, Ms. McQuaid, that we'd like to take on this. And so in order to do that, though, and ensure that we get the notice revised accordingly, we will need to recirculate, and we'd like to sine die the application at this point.
I was hoping that we could avoid that particular piece. For permission and minor variance applications, I believe the notice time is 10 days. So I believe May 21st is a very appropriate and workable date, if hopefully committee staff can confirm that.
All right, I'm going to turn to our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Ms. McWilliams, if you could tell us if that would work.
So through you, Madam Chair, if the documents and the payment for recirculation are received in time, it would be possible for May 21st. Staff would recommend sine die, and then the application will be scheduled for the first available hearing.
Difference in cost?
No difference in cost.
So, Ms. McQuaid, why don't we just go that route? Sine die, it's a little bit cleaner, gets recirculated. From what I can tell, you'll be back on by May 21st in any event, so.
Yeah, and just to be clear, other than the change in wording to the permission, there's actually no changes to the material itself. Just so long as everyone's clear, so that the material you've already reviewed isn't going to change. It's just the change in the wording of the permission itself.
Yeah, I understand, but you know, we've recirculated, like adjourned applications and recirculated for you know, the minute the relief changes and it's really not, you know, negligible, we go through that process, and I would see this application as being the same thing. So
I acknowledge that. I'm not disputing the request to recirculate.
all right, well, in that case, let's go sine die. You can still get on for the 21st.
Okay.
The pressure's on you and not on staff to chase it, and I think that's the difference for us. So, okay. I'm going to turn to my fellow panel members. Anyone have any questions or comments on a May 21st adjournment? Not seeing anybody? A sine die. Yes, thank you. We just went through that. Why is that in my mind? Okay, sine die at this point. Anyone in the audience want to speak to the adjournment sine die request? All right, so with that then, members of the panel, all those in favor? All right, so Ms. McQuaig, your application is adjourned sine die, and we look forward to seeing you May 21st.
Thanks. Take care.
I know.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first application I wanted to discuss. The second one is number 2 for 97 Sweetland. And I can't recall who the agent is offhand. Looking for Blakeman? Yeah, it could be Blakeman. Good afternoon. All right, so Mr. Blakeman, we had looked at the evidence that was provided in support of your application. And we had determined that we wanted a presentation from you today.
Okay,
And what we found was neither. So neither is there a presentation available for us. And seems to be some planning evidence that we would require further to what's been submitted in order to thoroughly consider your application.
okay, I hadn't been told that I have to prepare a presentation. Though I do have it, like I can address any questions, everything.
So we've done this in the past. So the committee likes to make decisions on the most fulsome information that's available, and planning evidence is important. So we would need to have you present a site plan and the reasons for your application and what your proposal is striving to achieve. And so in this case, so you're right, it doesn't say anywhere that you have to have one, but the committee can request one. So it's always pretty prudent to put one together and submit it anyway.
I have here site plan and everything with me, but it's not in a format. that I-
Okay, so, and don't forget, you need to address the 4 tests under the Planning Act, I believe. This is in fact. Yeah, you would need to address the 4 tests under the Planning Act as well as part of your, submission. So, I'm just gonna ask Member Durkee if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, just I see that the application was light compared to what we see with other applications that come before us. They're usually more than just 2 pages. For example, you said, well, the rear yard setback, still leaves a good sized. Good is an opinion. We need planning evidence. So sometimes we see people submit some pictures, sometimes people submit comparative properties in the area. So all the documentation for these types of hearings is public, so you can look at what other applications that you could see maybe something more fulsome. More that we have, the easier it is for us to make a decision. So it's in your best interest that we would adjourn at this point.
So when I submitted it, because I'm not a professional, right? I'm the owner. I consulted with the people here on the 4th floor, and they said it looks sufficient to them. I would have beefed it up, added more if I was requested. Now it just means that it's delaying everything.
Yeah, so to be honest, the committee staff is not there to provide a review of your submission necessarily. So it's sort of incumbent on you to ensure that you've understood what the requirements would be for a presentation to the committee and that you've fulfilled those. Sometimes committee members do try to help out when they can, but it's not part of their function to do that. So I'm sorry that in fact we're going to adjourn at this point, or I think we're proposing, I think we can go to May 21st. Is that possible?
Madam Chair, there's either May 7th or May 21st.
All right, by May 7th, do you think you might be able to have information put together and submitted for us? So it would need to be submitted the week before May 7th, so that by at least the Friday at the latest, if not the Thursday, so that it gives us an opportunity to review your material? Is that possible?
Yes, I can do that.
Right. Okay, so anybody from the panel have any comments or questions about a May 7th adjournment? Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the adjournment request on May 7th for this application? Either in the room or online? Okay, not seeing anybody. So I think we can vote. Members of the panel, all those in favor? All right, so it's unanimous. We will see you back here on May 7th, and we'll look forward to a presentation.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, so that takes us then to our unopposed application. And just as a reminder, it's sort of our fast track. This is where there's applications that are so straightforward. No one has any questions or concerns from the public, no registered speakers, no amendments required, no clarification required from panel members. Very simple, straightforward applications. We have three today that we're going to consider. The first one is number 5, and I don't need to see the agents on this, by the way. So, number 1, 23 Dunvegan. Number 5, 123, 125 Carruthers. And then the third one, number 7 for 7 Dunvegan. So, at this point, we can essentially take a vote. I'm just going to do one call out. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to either one of those 3 applications? And if not, we can vote. All right, so members of the public, not seeing anybody come forward on those. All those in favor? All right, so for the record, it's unanimous. Those 3 applications are granted. Okay, so that's the easy stuff, folks. We're on to application number 4. We're going to go in order from this point on. So 4 is 464 Clarence. I believe I'm looking for Agent Smith. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members.
And with you today, Ms. Smith?
Is Tando, my assistant from my office.
All right, so same municipal address for the record that we should be listing as yours?
Sorry, yes, exactly.
All right, so Ms. Smith, we're going to ask for a full presentation on this.
Yes.
We're cognizant that there are a number of speakers and you have some opposition to the application. So if you wouldn't mind in not only providing us with the planning evidence, but also talking to us a little bit about the public consultation that you undertook.
Okay, well, we are requesting minor variance with respect to the size of the property, the setbacks and the landscaping. And these variances are required to make the best use of the lot. And it's for a new 4-story, 10-unit, low-rise apartment building. The property is in Lower Town East. Oh, please don't change yet. The property is in Lower Town East, close to the Rideau Street with its amenities and easy access to transit close to the river and the park. And it's in the downtown core transit of the OP and is designated as neighborhood. Zoning is R4UD, which permits low-rise apartment buildings. Next, please. Next slide. If we could zoom in on the survey plan, I'm not sure if you can do that, but you would see that the existing building is as close as 0.03 to the west property line. And we're asking for the relief for the new building to be 1 meter from the property line. So in other words, the new building is moving towards compliance with the zoning bylaw. The front of the existing building is only 0.25 to the property line. So the new building will meet the zoning requirement at the front property line. And in fact, the new building will be smaller than the existing building. It has been designed to reduce the size as much as possible. Next slide, please. The streetscape character is primarily flat roof buildings with driveways to the back. There are a few 4-story buildings nearby, including 500 Clarence and 468 Clarence. The stars are the existing buildings, the red star. And in the images looking west, there's a 11-story building at the end of the street, and looking east, there's a 12-story building at the end. So this is a good location to address the missing middle and the housing shortage. The existing tree will remain. Next slide, please. So we're applying for 6 minor variances. The stair encroachment and the landscaping variances are required because of existing paved area at the back, which is a right-of-way for the neighbor. The 10-unit building make this project a viable project. Next slide, please. This is the front of 2 nearby buildings. Actually, our building is where the red star is the existing building. So you can see the new building will be the same height as these neighboring buildings. Next slide, please. So this site plan shows the variances. The key plan in the top right corner highlights in yellow the paved area that is the right-of-way that we cannot build on. There's the garbage containers shown. We could build that into an enclosed shed, closed garbage shed, and there is no parking required. So this right-of-way will be used to get access to the bicycles and to the garbage, and also still remain as the neighbor's turnaround. There is no balconies at the back of the building, and the hatched area, the lightly hatched area, is a cantilever, and it's actually over 4 meters above the asphalt, so there'll be no problem with parking turnaround. The HVAC units would be the heat pump type. There could be, we haven't gone too far in the interior design yet, but there could be 2 facing the west side yard and 3 facing the rear and 2 facing the front of the building. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed building, and you can see the neighboring building similar in form in the distance. So the 4 tests. So I'll go through the variances to permit. So the variances are minor. So A is to permit a reduced lot width. The proposed new building envelope is designed within the lot fabric. It's similar in scale and housing typology to the surrounding area, and the width of the new building facade is smaller than the existing building facade. B, to permit a reduced lot area. The zoning actually permits 8 units, but 10 will be feasible for the financial side of the project. So we provide more variable unit types, help to reduce the high rent demand in the downtown core area. C, to reduce the rear yard setback. The variance is only for 0.57 meters, which is 7% of the required rear yard setback. To permit a west side yard setback is to make the best use of the interior of the building. For a duplex or long semi, the side yard setback would only be 0.6 meters. Permit an increased stair projection into the rear yard. The existing right-of-way is taking up most of the rear yard, and to make the stair function properly, they had to be pushed more into the rear yard. They couldn't go sideways into the right-of-way. And so they're open on 3 sides, and the encroachment of 0.14 into the rear yard is very minor. And finally, the rear yard landscaping. Right now, the whole rear yard is covered with asphalt and the garage, which will be removed. Yeah, sorry. I just want to mention there was a comment about a retaining wall at the back. We will be building a retaining wall. We do have a prepared engineered grading plan, which shows a retaining wall is 6 inches from the rear property line. It's about a 2-foot difference in height there.
Is that shown, sorry to interrupt, is that shown on the site plan?
It's not shown on our site plan now, but we do have a grading plan. Is the site plan, if we go back to the site plan? No, we can submit to you the civil engineered grading plan, if you like, and respond to the neighbors' comments regarding that.
The only reason I ask is if it was on the site plan, then we could all see exactly where it is. And then it would be tied to the plan, to the approval as well, so the site plan is approved. So that's why I was raising that. But go on.
So I'll just finish, but
interrupt,
it will be part of the building permit process. This is the plan we'd submit for building permit. Okay, just to complete where was I? So that's the rear yard landscaping. Yeah, so we're giving more landscaping than there's now, definitely. And so number 2, the proposed development is desirable for this property. It will fulfill the potential of the location. Number 3, the proposed variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and to provide a wide mix of residential forms of up to 4 stories, and it's compatible with the existing land use patterns. And the residential neighborhood is enhanced and promotes efficient development, which sustains the financial well-being of the province and the municipalities. And finally, the requested variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan by fulfilling the demand for more projects that meet the definition of the missing middle in section 13 of the official plan.
All right, so just 2 things. I want to confirm then that we are deleting minor variance G then with regards to the aggregated rectangular area of soft landscaping. Is that correct?
That's correct. We were able to redesign the bicycle parking and the garbage to meet that requirement.
And can you also tell us about the public consultation with neighbors?
Unfortunately, we were not as good as I would have liked to have been with the public consultation. So I've responded to the emails, the letters that we've received with the public. And if it's suggested that we adjourn to meet with the public, but I believe I can respond to their comments now. Whichever.
Okay, so if I'm hearing what you're saying, then there was no letters dropped off to mailboxes or consultation with the community association, or is that correct? Like,
Sadly, you're right.
okay. Well, we'll hear from the public then on this and your responses. So turning to panel members, yes, go ahead, Member Coakley.
Just a clarification, excuse me. I thought I heard you say that the bylaw allows 8 units, but you want to do 10. But if that's correct, you have not got a variance for 8 to 10. And I know we have a couple of other cases before us this afternoon where there are very explicit requests to go from 8 to 10. So I'm a little like, are you going for 8 or are you going for 10?
We're going for 10. The bylaw allows 10, but at 10, it requires a bigger front yard width and a bigger property. So if we were to go for 8, we would be compliance with those requirements.
So the 10 units is not an issue, but that is driving your other.
That's right.
Your other requests.
And I can, I didn't show, but the last drawings were the floor plans, and we can show you how efficiently we've designed the apartments to be as small as possible to
No,
meet.
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was I was understanding correctly. Thank you.
Member Leckie?
Yeah, so my question is, so you mentioned a few times in your presentation about missing middle. On page, actually, I don't think these are numbered, but on, I think the last page of your, I believe this is the cover letter where you talked about the variances are minor, 1B. You talk about we can build an 8-unit apartment by increasing another 2 bachelor units. We provide a more variable type of housing. So maybe I missed it in your application, but of these 10 units, do you have a breakdown of how many are 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom?
Yes, it's on the one of the slides, slide 3. It's on slide 3. If you want to look at slide 3.
Thank you. Because I'm just curious, because typically bachelor apartments wouldn't be missing middle. It's usually the missing middle of what's missing in the community, which typically is 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, or like mixed form. So that's why I wanted a bit of clarity on where the 2, because you singled out the 2 bachelors in the cover letter. That's why I was, but that's for the financial viability piece.
Yes.
Okay.
So the 2 bachelor means that's the extra of the 8 to 10 that we've added.
Okay. And the slide on the bedroom type is?
Number 3 or number?
This
Are you
is
sure
3?
that's not number? Okay, next one. It's actually 6 bachelors right there. 6 bachelor, 2. Oh, you just went past it.
Oh, there, yep.
2 2-bedroom, 2 1-bedroom, and 6 bachelors.
Can we go back to the table, please? Or
There, thank you. Okay, so two bedrooms, two one-bedrooms, and 6 bachelors.
That's right.
And it's your opinion that this is for financial viability that.
That's right. Can I just add that, sometimes if you change those bachelors to bedrooms, you'll get more people living there than, higher density than if it's bachelor.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on the panel? All right, I just want to make a couple of comments. Oh, sorry, Member Blatherwick, and can we bring that table back, please?
Ms. Smith, you mentioned that you're going to put heat pumps in on this building. Where are they going to be located again? What's your?
Well, this is just in response to an letter we just received about that. So we haven't really come to that design, but I've talked to the builders about that just yesterday to get a response, and that is their plan for the heat pumps. But I suggested that the top floor, we put those heat pumps on the roof. And yeah, so the top floor, all the heat pumps, the chillers would go on the roof. And then I did mention where the others would go. Here we are, because I actually sketched them quickly on the floor plans. So we'd have probably 2 facing the west side yard, which is the side with the laneway, and then 3 in the back and 2 in the front, on the balconies in the front.
You're aware of the restrictions imposed by the city of Ottawa on the noise bylaw?
Yes,
And that at the point of reception for any of the buildings around your proposal, 50 decibels is a maximum.
yes.
I don't know how loud these things are.
No, I'm waiting for an email response. I've asked.
Because you may end up having to put, literally put a muffler around those units to make sure that the noise bylaw is not exceeded at a point of reception on one of the neighboring properties.
If we put everything on the roof, I mean, I can put I'm pushing my client to do that.
And I'd suggest if you put it on the roof, then you also need sound attenuation, because sound travels very, very well from a roof.
Yes,
No,
we
I've
put
got
a
an apartment
screen.
building 250 meters from me, and I can hear the chiller all summer long.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you,
Thank
Madam Chair.
Just wanted to see the site plan actually back up, just so we can talk about that retaining wall again for just a moment. I want to understand where that, you said 6 inches from the back property line, is that?
Well, just to give enough space to actually build the wall and have a foundation. Yeah, this one.
Can we just zoom in on the back portion of that, please?
So it's, the highest point is right at the back between the, there's an existing garage there right now. If you could move it down a little bit and a little to the right, a little bit further down. So you can see that dashed line that's kind of going through the bicycle area. That's the existing garage. So that garage is holding up the wall, the back a bit. And when it comes down, there'll be a retaining wall built there that actually the retaining wall will actually turn 90 degrees and go in the other direction as well to get the proper slope for drainage.
I'm not sure I quite have my mind wrapped around that. So if I'm looking at the dashed line that goes through the parking or the bicycle area, is the retaining wall to be sort of along the back portion of that, or?
Yeah, along the property line.
Along the property
rear
line, so
property
where that
line at the back.
exits.
Yes, right
Okay.
along the rear property line.
Okay, and you're not proposing any parking, right? as
No.
part of this? Okay. All right, any other questions from the panel? All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so we have a number of
Excuse me,
people.
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
Could committee staff just get confirmation that we do have the most up-to-date site plan? Because I believe that you referred to a revised site plan.
It was revised. Yes, we sent it to the planner and I believe to the committee, but it's revised from the one we originally submitted with our letter.
Okay, because I don't have that in my package.
Committee staff did not receive a revised site plan.
Did we send it? Yeah, we sent it.
Well, it's unfortunate because that means we weren't looking at the right plan. Now, can you tell us just briefly what the changes are? So
If we could go to the site plan again, please. It's only a bit about the rear yard area and the revision to the layout of the bicycle parking and the garbage. That's the new one.
So I can ask staff a quick question then on this. And I believe it was Mr. Gildart. Mr. Gildart, then your comments to the panel then, are these based on the original site plan or the revised site plan?
Staff's comments are based on the revised site plan that would have been circulated to us, but also to the committee. I'm trying to locate that email as we speak.
And dated when, Ms. Smith? The date of your email?
I'll get back to you in a minute. Looking.
In the meantime, maybe we can have you walk us through what the changes are.
It was to the bicycle parking and the garbage in order to allow the landscaped area, the consolidated landscape area. It was the last variance that was removed. If you have the letter, it was the G variance. You have it?
So I'm seeing that on this revised plan that you're showing the soft landscaping to be 30.2 square meters. And that's in excess of the 25 required, correct?
Right,
So that's the biggest change.
right.
And
That's the change. Yeah.
at the expense of anything? Of what?
Well, it's a two-story bicycle parking.
So we haven't reduced that amount of space for the bicycle parking?
We've reduced the bicycle space parking. So I have a little diagram in the bottom left-hand corner of the bicycle parking rack. It's a two-tier system.
Okay.
And by the way, the email was sent April 4th.
Okay, not sure what happened to that, but okay. We want to see that part if we could. It's the diagram that Ms. Smith just spoke to. I believe
Bottom
it's in the
left-hand corner.
bottom left-hand corner of that slide. Further left, are we going? Is that it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the racks tilt down and you push your bike up and then you can tilt it back up again.
Okay, and that meets the zoning requirement for bicycle storage.
Right.
All right. Okay, I don't have any other questions, I guess. Yeah. All right, with that then, were we moving on to the public portion, I believe? And we're gonna start with, and I'm gonna go in order here. Looking for Carm Stefaraza. Come on forward. I'm not gonna need your municipal address because by registering with us, we have it automatically. So go ahead and just a reminder, 5 minutes.
Got it. Okay, thank you for letting me speak. I am a little bit
Send me that
confused
notice.
because the layouts and the response we made, everything seems to be changing. I'm at 39 Heaney and I'm directly behind the proposed building. And it's a 3-foot drop. And it's crucial that I guarantee that we have a guarantee that there's going to be a retaining wall, which there wasn't in the plan, and that if there's any damage to our property, it's be fixed. We're concerned about the height, mainly because it takes away the view. We are concerned about the parking on the street because it's atrocious parking, and we were promised on 33 Heaney that there would be no problem with parking. They would have parking in the back, and they didn't, and it's just compound the problem of parking in our neighborhood. So another concern that was addressed earlier is that having garbage exposed, it should be in a contained spot, and I'm assuming it will be. So that takes care of that. The retaining wall, again, we need to do exactly that. We're concerned with the air conditioning units. On the plan, it shows that it's across the entire back facing our neighborhood. On 33 Heaney, we have them at the back, and it's just noise pollution coming our way, and now it's going to be projected towards us. And we're hoping that you can put the air conditioning on the roof away so it doesn't infringe on the noise pollution that would come in our direction. So that's for the AC units. Again, it's with the AC being in the back and the staircase, I don't understand why they can't put the staircase inside the building. It's a high building. It's in our face. It takes away, and don't get me wrong, I get it. I mean, I am all for housing. We need it. But this is pretty big, and I'm just kind of hoping, and I agree with you when you said there should be public consultation, that we can work things out, like get rid of the staircase. It's an eyesore. And get rid of the air conditioning. That's also an eyesore. And it's noise pollution on our end. Those are the things that I'm worried about, is the height, the garbage, the retaining wall, but also it's the view. I mean, we're talking with the neighbors that are back up to it, and basically it's a big, huge elephant with its butts facing you every day, and it's just ugly. If you can make those adjustments of the air conditioning and get rid of the stairwell, I think it would work.
Okay, so yes, Ms. Smith, I'm going to ask you to jump in here, but what I'm wondering about is, I'd like your thoughts on this, is do you think it would be helpful to adjourn to allow for more discussion with the neighbors at this point? I'm going to leave it to you to decide, so just think about that. But you can respond to all of those concerns. I think I know the answer to most of them, but just for the record, if we can get that. But keep in mind whether or not you think it might be helpful to adjourn.
Right. I'm just wondering where it comes from that there's air conditioning units, because we haven't done anything.
No, that's on 33 Heaney. They have their air conditioning on the back side
Oh,
of their
okay.
place,
Okay,
which the west winds blows that noise over to our side.
right.
So just to have it coming from the side and from in front of us facing the backyard, it's just gonna compound the situation.
So, Ms.
Right.
Smith, do you have air conditioning?
We haven't put any air conditioning at all. We haven't come to that. I mean, there will be, but we haven't come to that design stage yet.
Okay,
But-
so
but
just
yeah.
let me finish this thought
Yeah.
with Ms. Smith. So we're not a design committee. Just want to make that
Yeah.
very clear. This committee we deal with what's in the application, not with things like the building systems. That's not our gig.
Mhm.
Okay, but this is where discussions with
Okay,
the developer or the proponent is really important, because they can do something about it.
Mhm.
That's where your comments and your interaction with the agents in discussing applications like this is really important. So I'm not sure. So Ms. Smith, I'll leave it to you then. How are you going to deal with these issues with the air conditioning units or any other building systems that make you
well,
concerned?
I don't mind adjourning if if we can resolve mainly the air conditioning issues. I mean, the others are compliant with the zoning bylaw, but we can,
Yeah,
and-
okay, so, all right, let's go through them though, just for the record then, because you're right. So we talked, so the retaining wall, we talked about, right?
yeah,
So
the retaining wall, there's
Will
no,
be there.
it will
Okay,
be
that's
there.
good.
It's already there. It's already designed and planned.
Right, okay, great. But it
Okay.
wasn't on the plans.
No, no.
Okay,
but-
so we're gonna go through me,
Okay,
have a discussion going on like that, because.
Sorry.
Because that, yeah, we're
Sorry.
gonna be here all night.
yes.
What I think would be really helpful is regardless of whether or not we adjourn, some of these further developments to your proposal then should be consulted with so that you can iron out some of these issues separately. But let's go through some of these other things. So the retaining wall, you should be sharing that grading and drainage plan with the neighbors.
Yes.
Address the height, please.
Well, the height is compatible with the neighboring buildings. It's going to be the same height, no higher than the building 2 doors down.
And there's no minor variance required because you are meeting the height
That's right.
restrictions.
Yes.
Okay. Parking, can you address that, please?
Well, I've come across this with other projects. It's the city's wish now to encourage bicycle parking and encourage transit and reduce the parking. And this is a great location for getting to transit on Rideau Street. And I mean, there are incentives that the city is encouraging landlords to provide for tenants to encourage them to use the transit.
Is there any parking requirements under the bylaw?
No.
Okay, so no parking requirements. I just, in my own experience too, though, looking at other developments, we've got out of the 10 units, 6 bachelors. I don't think there's a developer in the city who's offering a parking space with bachelor unit anywhere. So that's very typical, and the city is moving forward with allowing higher densities without any parking requirements. So we're seeing it's here, but I can guarantee almost every application now, we're seeing, and I think we have 2, that we're actually looking at more than 8 units, going to 10 units. None of them have parking requirements. So that's just a trend and a permission, like this is permitted to happen. The minor variance to go from 8 to 10 is different, and it doesn't apply in this zone because we went through that. A member Coakley raised it. So we don't need that for this particular application, but we're seeing it everywhere else where the zone is 8. We're still seeing people come in. There's one later on today. That's exactly that. Can you also then address the garbage storage?
Well, we can build a shed that's lockable and enclosed.
Is that proposed on the site plan today?
Not now, no.
Okay, so we need a revision to the site plan for the retaining wall. We need a revision to the site plan for the garbage storage.
Mhm.
Okay, and then I think the last thing, we talked about air conditioning. The last thing was the staircase projecting into the rear yard. There was a suggestion that it be included within the building. Can you tell us whether that was considered, why or why not?
Well, this is not the primary stair entrance. This is a fire escape exit, really.
And what's the
And-
requirement under the building code or?
The building code is 2 exits. If we want to show the floor plan, we're happy to show that, but it's just a hallway on the east side of the building, and the hallway goes, the east side goes from the front to the back, and there's the main staircase at the front of the building at the entrance, and the back is in case of emergency or only to get access to garbage or bike parking if people want to use that back exit. But it's not the primary entrance, it's not the main entrance. To bring it into the building, we could lose apartments by doing that.
All right. Okay, any further questions then from our speaker? Oh, sorry. I'm going to go to Member Coakley, please.
Just on that point, I understand your point that if the staircase was to be brought into the building, you would lose space for units. I understand that. If the staircase though were to stay exactly, the fire escape staircase were to stay exactly where it was, would it be enclosed? Or would that trigger additional variances?
It can be well screened. In our other projects, we've gone very far with screening before it comes a solid wall. You know,
What kind of screening? Can you just describe that for us?
well, wooden slats that are fairly close together. So it does look enclosed ultimately, but technically it's not enclosed. It's accepted, but by the zoning department when we apply for building permit or site plan control previously.
Right, I just want to ask staff then, just to get confirmation of Mr. Gildart. In your opinion then, if we were to, again, this would be a revision to the site plan to show, you know, partially enclosed or screening of the, of that staircase, does that change anything in your mind, or is it still would still remain that one, projection into the rear yard?
Certainly by enclosing it becomes part of the main building, and then we'd be looking at reducing the rear yard setback further than what is being requested today. Where it is an exterior staircase, it would fall under permitted projections, which is permitted to project up to 2.2 meters. They're simply requesting to increase that from 2.2 meters to 2.33 meters.
The screening makes no difference to that
No,
scenario?
not from planning's perspective.
Okay, all right. I think we've talked about all of Mr. Stiff's. I'm going to go on to the next speaker then and get maybe the next set of issues that residents would have. So thank you for your time today. I'm looking for Ms. Henry. Do we have somebody? Is Ms. Henry online?
Yes, Madam Chair, she is online.
Good
Hi
afternoon.
there.
Hello.
Hi, thanks so much. So I'm just in my office, so I wasn't able to make the hearing in person. But I have a number of concerns as well, much similar to Carms, who's my next door neighbor. So I'm at 37 Henny Street, and I also back onto the property in question. So maybe I'll just start by saying I'm also in favor of increased density in the city as opposed to more sprawl. So in concept, I don't have an issue with what's proposed today, but I do have issues with other pieces. And I will say I'm really disappointed that there was no public consultation. This showed up as a letter in my mailbox from the city. I travel a lot on business. I have a very busy job and a very busy life. And to have to take time out where you sort of have a surprise, there's an apartment building going up behind your property, it's not the best start to relationships with the proponent. So I'll just put that out there. It doesn't do a lot to build trust or confidence, at least from my perspective. And then I also have several particular issues. So with respect to the height of the building, I'm right next to 33 Henny. I don't have an issue with that building. I quite like it. But there are some, I think, learnings from it. And for homeowners in the area with small houses like mine, I think there is a question about where we're building larger buildings and what density they should be, because I'm now going to have a large building beside me, a much taller, sounds like a very tall and narrow building. And I understand that it's not taller than two buildings over from it, but it's still really tall in comparison to my house, and it backs onto my backyard directly. So I am concerned about the height of the building. I'm also concerned about the wind. What I've noticed when 33 Henny went up to beside mine, because when I originally bought it was an empty lot, there's a lot more significant wind in my backyard as a result of that, and that has an impact on my fence. It has an impact on my yard gate, and I'm concerned as well as Carm is with the back fence and what that's going to be like, because there is a drop off. And what I found with 33 Henny is the grade was at the same level, I guess, as my grade, but once the building was built, the yard is now lower. And so that's impacted, it's impacted my fence. It's impacted the integrity of my fence on the side property. It's also encouraged rodents to be coming under my fence, whereas before that wasn't the case. The loose dirt that they've used there also allows, they have a lovely groundhog living in the backyard. It now buries into my garden. with respect to having garbage against our back fence, which is essentially what's being proposed, I don't actually think just enclosing it in a separate building is going to be good enough, because there's going to be a lot more rodent activity. People are going to be taking their garbage down this back stairway across the yard. It's going to drop out. I know it happens all the time, and then it's going to encourage rodents. So I really question why the garbage can't be in the building. That's how it's done at 33 Henny, and it works really well. And then I'm also concerned with the noise from whatever units, whether they be air conditioning or others. And on the site plan, which I looked at, it has them all on the back of the building. So I understand that perhaps there'd be fewer proposed on the back of the building, but the noise from them is really significant. And because I already have them right next to me, I'm worried about the compound issue of then having them also at the back of my property, facing my property. And then finally, I think there's a question that I have around whether or not the minor variances are assessed sort of as discrete pieces individually, or whether they are assessed in terms of their overall impact on, on the neighbors, I guess, or I don't know exactly how minor variances are done, but when I look at them as a whole, especially with respect to what's proposed in the rear yard with the staircase, the bike rack and garbage being in the back, the staircase, I think, projecting more significantly into the back and being open, the building itself being closer to the fence line or the property line. I think I'm going based on the plans. I'm not an engineer or a builder. I'd just like to get a sense overall of like, how close is this very large, tall building going to be to my fence line? And how close is the stairway going to be? Because I'm also worried about noise of residents. I presume it's an iron staircase, and that is noisy when you're coming up and down, especially when windows are open in the summer. And then finally, I would also like to know whether they're planning on having cameras on the building.
Henry, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds.
Okay, just my last issue, cameras, because there are cameras on Henny, 33 Henny next to me, which is a privacy issue. Now I've talked to the owners there, and I think that's okay, but I do think that this should be addressed in what the building proponent is proposing, so that they're not infringing people's privacy. There are laws that have to be abided by. And so I wonder what the plan is for that. Thank you very much for the time to speak and to ask questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Henry. You've raised a lot of issues. I've got to tell you, many that are really outside of our jurisdiction and purview, right? So cameras, installation cameras, that kind of thing. Not, again, anything that we can really deal with. Wind, certainly not something we can deal with. We've already sort of dealt with the height issue, so they're building to what's actually permitted under the zoning bylaw. And then in terms of the back fence, grading and drainage plans have to be adhered to. And that's something that if in the fullness of time isn't respected, there is a way for you to in fact get the city to address that. So it has to be done in accordance with engineered stamped plans. Then we talked about the garbage. I understand what you're saying, but I think we heard some good faith statements from our proponent about enclosing the garbage area. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, I think this is, so you had an interesting point with regards to, and it was when you were talking about height. You said, is this really makes sense, the massing of that building, considering what else is already in that context? And I just want to make you aware that the city is right now in the midst of a zoning bylaw review. It's exactly the right time to open up those discussions. I mean, you can reach out to, I think if you go onto the city's webpage, you'll easily find the zoning bylaw review and how to get involved. That's certainly, it's a good question about the massing and how that works. How will all this intensification deal with what happens, what's the residual effect on smaller homes in neighborhoods that are impacted by that? Good discussion to have as part of that zoning bylaw review. So just wanted to make that point too, so to let you know that that's available to you. Otherwise, I think we heard about most of these things. You asked a question about the minor variances. Do we deal with them as a whole or individually? So we do deal with them individually, and I'll tell you, so both in some ways, because sometimes we find there's some minor variances that are just not acceptable, but the rest of the proposal is fine. And I'll give you an example that we see over and over again, and it's about front-facing garages. So we'll have proposals, they'll end up having a request for a front-facing garage, which is not in keeping with a lot of things in the zoning bylaw today. And we can approve, 4 out of 5 minor variances and say, no, this last one has too much of an impact. It's not minor, it's not. So we do tend to deal with them individually, but we have to be mindful of the overall impact of each taken together. So I hope that answers your questions, and open it up to any of our panel members to have questions to you, perhaps. Yes, Member Coakley.
Not so much a question, Madam Chair, but I think you, the member of the public, asked a question of how far from the lot line is the building. If you look at the plans that we had on the screen a little earlier, it appears to me, and I stand to be corrected by the architect, that the back of the building appears to be 8.29 meters from the lot line. But the staircase projects 2.33 meters into that. So you'd have about, roughly 6 meters from the edge of the stairway to the lot line, roughly 3 feet per meter. So you're talking about somewhere in the order of sort of 24, 25 feet to the building and about 3 6s or 18-ish feet to the staircase. If that answers if I correctly heard the question that was being asked.
Can I speak, Madam Chair?
Just 30 seconds.
Okay, so that's really close to the property line, and this is an area that the committee can in fact opine on, right? I mean, you're being asked to provide an okay for a variance on how far back the building can go. I'm going from memory there, and the staircase, and it's an additional meter on the staircase alone. I forget on the building. So that is within your control. And what I'm saying to you is that I think that is not appropriate massing within the size of the lot for this building. And they are trying to add 2 units, so I don't know if there's any flex there. But to me, that's a real encroachment as compared to what is there now, vis-a-vis the neighbors.
Okay, point taken. Thank you. Any follow-up? No, from anybody? Okay, and I'm going to go on to our next speaker. At this point, we have more. So looking for either Mr. Seguin or Ms. Hajar. Come on forward.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is going to be short because most of our concerns were addressed already, and we have answers to our questions. We own 466 Clarence. We share the driveway with the proposed project. And our biggest concern was that our tenants are able to get into their garages and out easily. And I think you addressed that.
Mm-hmm.
They need to, because the first garage needs to back up and turn around in order to exit and come in. And everything else, the garbage, the noise. And I don't know if this is something I can address here, but as we are directly impacted with the construction, if there's any allowances or if there's any plans to make sure that our tenants day-to-day activities coming in the driveway, coming out, exiting the side, the garage door is not impacted. I don't know what sort of plan is made for that. Bernie, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I would like to recommend if it's possible to have a pub consultation on site,
Okay.
because us being impacted directly, I think it was not fair for
Yeah,
us as
I
an owner
apologize. Yeah.
not being consulted at all, Because I was led to believe there was some balcony at the back. There's some sort of.
There's just the staircase.
Just a staircase.
It may be deceptive because we have that overhang that's shaded, but it's not a balcony. It's just a cantilever. So it's 4 meters up above from the ground, so it won't impact the cars underneath.
So it's just for the rain not to come.
Oh, no, it's actually on the second and third floor. That's part of the apartments. So the
Okay.
building's gonna kind of hang out
So
over.
have 4 meter below.
Yes,
Okay.
underneath. And
So I mean, a car could back up there.
oh, yeah, for sure. So, and we got all the deed and, you know, all the comments about the right of way going back historically from the surveyor.
Okay.
So we could share that with you. So I think perhaps we could have an adjournment and resolve all these issues.
I think that would be prudent because, you know, this kind of discussion, Ms. Smith, is not intended to happen
Yeah,
at the committee, as you know. That's the kind of discussion that we expect to have happen before you get here. So yeah, you know, we're not even through the names. We're only not even halfway through the names on my list. And I haven't heard from, you know, the general call out yet. So I think it would be helpful to allow for that that public consultation to occur and for you to revise the site plan for us, because I can name off 3 things right off the bat that I think we're going to want to see on that site plan. So thoughts from the committee members? Anybody want to weigh in on this? I think I have support. That's what I have. So from you then, Ms. Smith, what date do you think you'd be able to plan, you know, meeting with the public and revising the plans?
The next possible meeting would be good. We could, I mean, if we can meet with people soon.
May 7th. So we would need revised plans by when, Madam Secretary Treasurer or Deputy?
We would need revised plans at least the Wednesday before the hearing,
So that would be the 30th?
the 30th, yes.
Yeah, so that gives you 8 working days.
Is that
I got that right.
feasible? Were you available for a meeting? Are
Yeah,
you
there's
able to
Good Friday
share?
and Easter Monday, that's right, in there too. So it's a good thing that in fact, this is a meeting that we have 3 weeks between the hearing dates. So, all right, I think we'll try and make May 7th
Chair.
work. Sorry, go ahead.
Is the committee able to share those names? As I only received comments like a couple of days ago.
I will ask you to speak with committee staff about getting that to ensure that you've reached out to everyone. So, okay.
Madam Chair, all comments that were received have been emailed to you. There were some phone call comments, but we don't have contact information for those.
Okay, so I had 1 note about parking and then 2 letters and a 3rd letter in support. So that's all I received.
All right, so I'll let you do that offline
Okay.
with committee staff if that's possible. So is there anyone who wants to speak to the adjournment request to May 7th? Now's your chance. All right, I think everybody's happy with that plan. So members of the panel, all those in favor? Yeah, okay, so it's unanimous. The panel is in full agreement of an adjournment to May 7th. So good luck to everyone. Hopefully we'll have a lot of those issues resolved.
Thank you.
All right, bye now. Okay, so that takes us to, where are we? So that's adjourned. Application number 6287 Shakespeare, looking for Agent Clark or Hume. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the panel.
So, Mr. Hume, we're going to request a presentation from you, if
Okay.
that's possible.
Yep. So, Madam Chair, this is a minor variance application that's seeking a reduced front yard, reduced rear yard, a reduction in the interior side yard, and an increase in the maximum number of units from 8 to 10. You see the site plan on your on the screen there. And these minor variances allow us to site the building such that we can create we can adjust the unit count to create 4 3-bedroom units, 2 2-bedroom units, 2 1-bedroom units, and 2 to studio units. I should note that although we're requesting a rear yard variance from a depth perspective, we will be meeting the minimum rear lot area requirements of the existing zoning bylaw. In that case, if we move to one of the key contexts, which is this consistent with the official plan? And you will know, I was before you 2 weeks ago, and we were talking at that time about the official plan and its connection to the existing zoning bylaw. And I will say, as I said then, it doesn't have a connection to the existing zoning bylaw. The existing zoning bylaw is an implementation tool of an official plan that no longer is in force and effect in Ottawa. So the key test, if you will, in this context is what the new zoning bylaw will say about this area, because the new zoning bylaw is designed by its very, it is the implementation methodology for the official plan. And so when you look at this site, if you can go to the next slide, this is in the interurban transect. It's got a land designation of neighborhood. And when you look at the N4B zone, which is the zone that is proposed to be implemented for this property in the second version of the zoning bylaw, which was released just several weeks ago, there are no density restrictions on the site. So there, you are able, through that zoning bylaw, to place as many units as you can within the performance standards of the bylaw as it comes forward. The new front yard setback in the proposed zone is 3 meters. We're providing 4 meters, so we would comply with that new zoning bylaw. The rear yard setback is 25% of lot depth. And the interior side yard is 2.4 meters total, which we would meet as well. And I just want to highlight one of the reasons why we are seeking the reduced interior side yard variance. We have a tree. If you can go back to the first section, we have a tree on the, if you see at the very top, there's a tree, and we're trying to move the building as further away from that tree as possible. Right now on the site, adjacent to that tree is a shed and a garage. So we're taking that shed up and out. We will be putting in a driveway, but we believe that we can, the driveway and its porosity for the tree is will be a better condition than it is today, but we're trying to move that the building as far away from that critical root zone as we can. So with respect to the planning comments, staff, as you see in your planning report, have reviewed the minor variance application against the 4 tests, and they are satisfied that the minor variance meets the minor variances requested meet those 4 tests. And we do have a number of buildings consistent. Well, I won't say that we're consistent with them, because we're one of them you see in the neighborhood has front yard parking, and we don't have front yard parking. But the typology is not uncommon in the neighborhood. So with that, Madam Chair, the 4 tests are: is the minor variance minor? And these are minor adjustments to the use, the allowed use on the property, to ensure that the building is sited in a manner that is allows for a mix, a strong unit mix, and allows for protection of things like the large mature trees. Is the variance desirable for the appropriate development use of the property? The variances are proposed so that sensitive low low-rise development can be constructed that meets the city's housing goals and is consistent with the official plan. Is the general intent and purpose of the bylaw maintained? The R4 UA zone allows low-rise apartment buildings to be constructed, and the adjustment in the performance standards allows the realization of that typology with an appropriate unit mix consistent with where the official plan is going, more larger units as opposed to smaller units. And is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained? And I would submit to you that the new zoning bylaw as an implementation tool of the official plan clearly demonstrates that the proposed variances are in keeping with the direction of the official plan and demonstrate consistency with the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Hume. Questions? All right, we're going to start with Member Blatherwick.
Mr. Hume, I'm looking at your site plan. We could put that back up on the screen, please. I'd like to see the parking spaces, if you could just move that over. Okay. What size are those 3 parking spaces, Mr. Hume?
Say they're 2.6 by 5.2, Mr.
So they're the required minimum.
Yes.
And have you assessed the functionality of this parking?
So, you know, Mr. Blatherwick, I looked at that when I was on my way just before we came. The answer to your question is yes, because we talked about that. We can provide a site plan to the committee that has the appropriate turning templates. I think the only one that is really in question is the one that is perpendicular to the building face. And we can demonstrate that to you.
So you've done the turning radius.
As I understand it, the designer did put turning templates on that one because we had discussed it in some of our pre-meetings with him. It's just not on this site plan.
And what kind of a vehicle would they have assessed this turning movement radius with?
I'm assuming that it was a standard automobile.
Because I've seen it in the past where they used a smart car.
Yeah, we're not using a smart car.
I should hope not. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hume.
Member Lecaillé.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking back at the site plan, I see it says proposed driveway. And that's, so driveway meaning so sorry if I'm being clear. You've got it on what we're showing here. We see proposed driveway, kind of near, I think those are garbage, maybe units, those little squares there. So I'm just clarifying, driveway meaning a throughway to those parking spaces?
Correct.
Or driveway, no one's going to be parking, unloading, that kind of thing, like it's not a
No,
loading zone.
it's a driveway to the
those
parking
lots back.
spaces.
Okay,
Yes, correct.
thank you.
Just to follow up then on all that, and what's the width of that proposed driveway?
Oh, I think the entire setback on that side is 4.33 meters. And so the setback from the building face to the property line on that side is 4.33 meters. And I think that the site plan, and I can't pull it as close here, but it would be no bigger than 3 meters because it's required to demonstrate zoning compliance.
Okay, so it's one-way circulation, obviously. Not looking, I don't think it'd be able to fit 2 cars through there. I've got to tell you though, like I'm looking at those parking spaces and it's not just the one that's perpendicular that concerns me. It's also the one that's the interior from the top one, because like I'm looking at that car, it's going to back up into what? And I'm thinking, I don't know, it just seems to me that it would be exceedingly tight. So having those turning radiuses would have been very helpful for this purpose.
I should also say parking's not required to be provided at all, like and we
Understand that.
think we can make that the work and we believe we can demonstrate that to you.
So I know it's not proposed, but when it is shown on a plan, functionality becomes an issue. right?
Absolutely.
So otherwise, what are we approving a non-functional site plan for? The other question I have is on my plan, I don't see those nice little yellow squarey things that are sort of at the tail end of that parking space. What are those? Where's that come from?
Oh, those were bicycle parking spaces that we were required to relocate.
And so,
And hold on, I'm gonna look, you'll just give me a second here. And we had some discussion with and we relocated those. We relocated them to the interior of the site. I'm sorry, I must have, that plan must have moved them, but they were bicycle parking spaces that shouldn't be in the location.
yeah, so they're not actually encroaching is what
No,
I'm point out.
they've been moved.
Okay, all right. Other questions from the panel? I've got another one then, I'll just keep going. And I guess I want to hear from forestry on this. Do we have somebody from forestry? Who have we got? Mr. Alvarez? Ms. Young. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm just noting in the report, and we've seen statements like this before. I just want to see how far we need to go. You've got one sentence in the second paragraph that's the proposed bicycle parking should be relocated to minimize travel across the rear yard soft landscaping. So based on the discussion we just had with showing the site plan, are you satisfied that's in the right location now, or is there further discussion about that required?
Well, I have to say this was my colleague that was on this file, so I wasn't the one reviewing it, but I believe before the meeting, he noted that there was a revised site plan provided showing the relocation of the bike parking and that he was okay with it. So I don't think that there's any further discussion required here. It was just a recommendation to kind of minimize the impacts to the soft landscaping.
Okay, and where it's being proposed, and if I saw it, like notwithstanding that little encroachment part, looks like it's like between parking spaces in some ways, which yeah, I'm kind of wondering about the whole safety aspect of having bicycle parking there, but
I think I'm going to look at planning, but we provided a revised site plan to forestry and to plan to get there to deal with our concerns. And they came back to us and said that they were satisfied with the location.
looking to, which final is this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So to confirm, with the bicycle parking spaces, it was communicated with the proponent that they are required to provide a 1.5 meter aisle that is unobstructed access to the bike parking, and to confirm that the aisle to the actual bike racks will be unobstructed. And we've left that with the proponent.
Is that shown on the site plan now? Because I didn't see it.
The yellow squares that you were referring to are the access to the bike racks.
Sorry, can we see that again, please? Because now that encroachment does make a difference, right? Now we're talking about one of the bicycle parking spaces clearly encroaching in a vehicle parking. And, it's nice that we see these pictures, but I can tell you that, nothing's to say that that car is going to be parked that way at all times, which means that we don't have any. So is that a minor variance issue, or is that site design? What would you recommend?
I recommend that the bike parking be look at reorienting the layout of the bike parking.
And we can do that, Madam Chair. I mean, we can move the parking space. We can adjust the parking space location slightly, or we can move the bike we can turn the bike parking. And we
It's
can
awfully
provide
tight.
that to you,
So,
but we don't need a minor variance, Madam Chair, to the aisle.
based on this site plan, you would. So that's what all I'm suggesting is we're gonna need to
but-
revise, so it's gonna be, approving a site plan as revised, clearly, because this does not meet the, what we just heard from Mr. Gilbert. I'm a bit worried about this one, and Councillor Hume, I'll tell you, it's, and I appreciate your comments about, how the new zoning bylaw is really looking at allowing densification in a way that really hinges on functionality. Because if you start taking away what those caps are, then you're saying, yes, but you really need to look at how the overall site functions and whether those minor variances don't create a situation in which you're introducing things like bicycle parking or vehicle parking or garbage space area that ultimately doesn't function. And it's unfortunate because then this committee will actually become increasingly responsible for ensuring that functionality is there. So I don't know. I don't know that there's an answer to what I'm saying. It's more of a comment. There's some discomfort with the way that this is being arranged.
If I can, Madam Chairman, you're correct in the new zoning bylaws looking at methodologies to increase or flexibility to increase density on the site. And the ability and what we show on a site plan for minor variances, for example, when you need to demonstrate to the 4 tests to those minor variances, but those other aspects of the development need to show conformance to the zoning bylaw, right? It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, after your approval, that sometimes those things don't change. And as you well know, once they get to building code services, you might reduce a parking spot to eliminate it, which doesn't invalidate your approval. Or in some cases, a parking spot is added as long as it's zoning conformant. Again, as long as it's not related to a driveway width or a parking space, your minor variances the minor variances that you approve aren't invalidated. And we've seen that in other applications that are before the committee where you might have shown a parking space and then for other reasons, you added a parking space as long as it's not related to the variances that you approved.
Based on that logic then, or Mr. Hume, I would be tempted to say eliminate that perpendicular vehicle parking. So then you won't have an issue with your bicycle parking at all. And if during that process that you were just describing, you can actually demonstrate with the turning radiuses and the rest of it, that parking space works, then all the power to you.
I can and Madam Chair, in that regard, I will provide you with a plan that eliminates that parking spot.
I think I would actually be more comfortable with that. So thank you for that offer.
I will demonstrate. We will do that.
Okay.
It's not an offer. It's we will do it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hume. Appreciate it. Anybody with any other questions? I don't have anybody on my speakers list, by the way, but I do need to make a call out. There's no more questions? All right. Is there anyone in the audience, either here today or online with us today, that wants to speak to this application at 287 Shakespeare Street? Now's your chance. I'm not seeing anybody come forward. Okay, so I think we can, sorry.
Hi, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, we're getting a revised plan after a decision is made that will eliminate a parking space and move the bicycle parking?
Well, the bicycle parking will not need to be moved if we remove that parking space.
Okay, just wanted confirmation. Thank you.
No, we can't reserve and then wait for it to be received. We'll have to, if we decide to grant, then it'll have to be granted on the basis of a revised plan in keeping with discussions that are on record. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So Member Kecklican.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. So just For my clarification, elimination of that one parking space, would that be replaced by bicycle parking or not?
The bicycle parking is already on the plan. We may relocate it to make it a little, as the chair indicated, functional, but it's not, there won't be more bicycle parking than there already is because the bicycle parking is already conforms to the zoning bylaw.
Right. No, what I meant was that when you move it, would you be able to move it to where the car space is shown?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so members of the panel, would you like to make a decision? All right, so let's move forward. All those in favor? All right, so Mr. Hume, your application is unanimously granted, subject to revised plans. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the panel.
Okay, that was Shakespeare. We're going on to number 8, 100 Hamilton, looking for Agent Kelly, I believe. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm also going to be joined by my colleague Greg Winters. He's just out in the hall at the moment.
All right, so I believe the panel would like a presentation from you today, so please go ahead.
Sure, and if I just may request, I will go over the 5-minute mark by a slight margin, so just so you're aware of that. So thank you for having me here today. My name is Jeff Kelly from Novatech, on behalf of the owner to present an application for minor variances on 100 Hamilton Avenue North. Next slide, please. I'll actually just go to slide 3, skip over the context. So it's proposed to demolish an existing detached dwelling to facilitate the development of a new 8-unit low-rise apartment with frontage on Hamilton Avenue North. There's a 1.2 meter wide walkway providing access to bicycle parking and waste storage in the rear yard off Hamilton Avenue. There's no motor vehicle parking required or provided on this property. The proposed development is designed to conform with zoning provisions for building height, front yard setbacks, and rear yard setbacks, and relief is being requested for reduced lot width, reduced lot area, reduced interior side yard setbacks. I'll just quickly go next slide through some of the elevations just to give you a quick sense. So the proposed low-rise apartment dwelling is 3 stories in height. Next slide, please. Just looking at the north elevation, this is where we see the proposed walkway access to waste containers and bicycle storage in the rear yard along the north property line. Next slide, please. The south elevation, so just noting here that there's no windows provided on this side of the building to ensure that the building interfaces well with the existing lot to the south. Next slide, please. I'll go through these during the course of the presentation, so we'll just move along to the next slide, please. So just go straight to the discussion of the rationale and the 4 tests. So the first test, minor variance, is that the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained. If you could kindly go back to slide 8. Subject site is designated neighborhood, and it's located within 200 meters or about a 4-minute walk from properties designated Main Street along Wellington Street West. We also have Holland and Parkdale designated as minor corridors and located within 300 meters of the subject property. And further, about 950 meters to the north is Tunney's Pasture Station, which is about a 13-minute walk. So with respect to the existing built form context, the surrounding neighborhood is primarily characterized by detached and semi-detached dwellings located on narrow lots. Specifically, the example before you here in terms of the 3-story dwellings, we see that the subject site is a multi-unit dwelling just further to the north of the property at 44 Hamilton. And I have a few additional examples. So next slide, please. Just to the north of the property at 90 Hamilton Avenue, there's also a 3-story multi-unit dwelling. Next slide, please. And then across the street from the property at 87 and 89 Hamilton, we have a 3-story semi. And then to the south of that property, a 3-story detached dwelling at 91 Hamilton, which is also almost identical in form to what's being proposed today. With that, a 3-story built form is compatible with the surrounding context. Next slide, please. So I'll speak with respect to density first. The subject site is located within the evolving neighborhood overlay. And I will just quote the policy from the official plan, which states that the city will generally be supportive of applications for low-rise intensification that seek to amend the development standards of the underlying zone. So with that, policies of the official plan are supportive of moving beyond the development standards of the underlying R4UB zone in this location. That includes common features in the area, such as minimum interior side yard setbacks that are less than required by current zoning provisions. The proposed development would contribute to achieving intensification objectives by providing additional dwelling units in a building form that is compatible with the surrounding context and contributes to general intensification of the urban area. So with that, the minor variances maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. Next slide, please. The second test for minor variance is that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws maintained. Subject site is zoned R4UB, which permits low-rise apartment dwellings. The low-rise apartment has been designed to be compatible with the existing function of side yards on abutting lots to the north and the south, using zoning standards for detached dwellings as a built form reference. Minor variances are requested to reduce the required interior side yard setback to 0.6 meters on the south and 1.2 meters on the north. That's consistent with the requirement for detached dwellings in the R4 UB zone. And again, I'll just mention the 1.2 meter side yard setback on the north that provides that fully conforming path of travel for waste bins and bicycles to the rear yard from Hamilton. So with that, the requested minor variances meet the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The third test for minor variance is that the minor variance is considered desirable for the use of land. So I'll walk through the variances. Variance A requests a reduced lot width of 7.62 meters, whereas a minimum lot width of 10 meters is required. There's also several lots located along Hamilton Avenue with a lot width that has 7.6 meters or less. So the requested variance is consistent with the lot fabric along Hamilton and maintains the functionality of the site. Next slide, please. Variance B requests a reduced lot area of 241 square meters, whereas 300 square meters is required. Several lots along Hamilton Avenue have a lot area of 245 square meters or less. The requested variance is consistent with the lot fabric along Hamilton and maintains functionality of the site. Next slide, please. So this is variance C and D. Variance C requests a reduced interior side yard setback of 0.6 meters on the south of the subject site. Variance D requests a reduced interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters on the north of the subject site. In both cases, whereas 1.5 meters is required for a low-rise apartment building. There are also several lots along Hamilton Avenue that have interior side yard setbacks less than required by the zoning bylaw. The low-rise apartment has been designed to be compatible with lots on the north and the south. And with that, variances C and D are consistent with the streetscape along Hamilton Avenue and maintain the functionality of the site. So the requested lot width, lot area, and interior side yard setbacks can accommodate the proposed form of development at the same scale as proposed in this location. The requested variances are therefore compatible with the existing neighborhood context and considered desirable for the use of land. Next slide, please. So the fourth test for minor variance is that the variance is considered minor in nature. And I'll just walk through each variance. So variance A is required to permit a reduced lot width on the site by 2.4 meters. Variance B is required to permit a reduced lot area on the site by 59 square meters. Variance C is required to permit a reduced interior side yard setback that is 0.6 meters on the south. Variance D is required to permit a reduced interior side yard setback on the north that is 1.2 meters. The proposed development meets the performance standards for front yard setback, rear yard setback, and maximum building height. The minimum soft landscaping in the front and rear yards are also provided, just for your reference. Proposed reductions to the required interior side yard setbacks can accommodate the proposed development and are consistent with minimum requirements of the R4 UB zone for a detached dwelling. The request for reduced lot width, lot area, and interior side yard setbacks on the subject site are consistent with the surrounding context and will have no impact on the streetscape or the functionality of the site. And with that, the requested variances are considered minor in nature. I'll save you the summary and just say thank you for listening and any questions you may have.
So the only other thing I'll ask you to do is outline your public consultation on this. We do have a number of comments that have come back, some opposition. So could you please walk us through that?
Absolutely. So we had conversations with the Hindenburg Community Association, and we also, through them, have responded directly to comments from members of the community. Also a few emails that were sent directly to neighbors that sent us their contact information. And I actually, as recently as Monday, had sent a response back to the representative from the Hintonburg Community Association with responses.
All right, thank you. All right, questions from members of the committee on the application? Member Coakley.
This is a bit like the question I asked to one of the previous applicants. If I understand you correctly, what you said, if you were building a single family home, you would be able to build exactly the same shape and size, but would not require the variances. The variances are because you are trying to put 8 units in the building. Am I broadly correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on this? All right, then I'm sorry, the member Blatherwick.
The reduction from the required 1.5 meters to 1.22 meters for the pathway to the rear. That's there for a reason, is it not? Given this is a multi-unit building with, I'm assuming, garbage storage in the back?
Yes, the minimum requirement is 1.2 meters in the zoning bylaw for the path of travel to the rear yard.
But you're aware of the design guidelines for waste that the city has, and they talk about a 1.5 meter wide unobstructed pathway to pull bins from the back to the front.
My understanding, member Blatherwick, is that it's 1.2 meters.
No, it's 1.5 in the guideline. Anyway, I just don't agree with your rationale to reduce that side yard from 1.5 to 1.22 meters. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we're going to go then to our list of speakers, and we're going to start with Ms. Hode. Is she either in the room? Yes. Come on down. Good afternoon.
All right. Would you like my home address or?
I believe we
No?
have all of that already.
Okay,
And
thank
so
you.
go ahead.
And I sent it on letterhead, so you can always use that address. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. As you will have noticed from our submission, the Community Association is opposed to this application. It is, in our opinion, is overdevelopment on this site. We did have a meeting after the amendment we requested, or the applicant requested our request at your last hearing. Unfortunately, there was very little information available. The planner he didn't have answers to many of the questions. There were no floor plans. We could not establish the location of the HVAC units, number of bicycle parking spaces. We did get an answer to that. The reason for 4 entry doors, which seems excessive and unusual for this type of application, and materiality for the building. The applicant appeared willing to plant 2 trees, but they're not shown on the site plan. Similarly, we were told that there would be at least 1 bicycle parking spaces per unit, but again, it's not shown on the site plan. This doesn't give us a great deal of confidence. It was also disappointing in terms of the information available when I was able to compare the information we got with the information you've heard today from other applicants. And I did a review of your recent decisions because we haven't had any 8-unit apartment applications in Hintonburg that required variance. We do have 1 8-unit apartment building which was built, it met the bylaw requirements. And we had a site plan because it was in the bad old days when 8 units had to provide site plan. So the applications in the Appendix A that I sent you, you will see every one of them, and they are different zones, different variances, but they all provide you with the unit count, and they all are providing a variety of units. And that is our major concern. As you will note, I cited you the provincial policy statement and official plan requirements for not only intensification, but for a variety of unit sizes to meet the needs of the community. And I just wanted to comment a bit about the community character. 100 Hamilton Avenue North is south of Wellington Street. It's a fairly common residential street in this part of Hintonburg, consisting of 50 by 100 foot lots, or if you prefer 15 meter by 30 meter lots, as laid out on the original plan of subdivision, Plan 157 in 1896. As in many early suburbs of Ottawa, most of the lots have been split into 2 lots, providing 2 single-family homes or a semi-detached. And there are examples of each on this particular block. And some of these homes have been further divided to create duplex or fourplex dwellings, and we did have the one triplex, fairly recent one that the applicant has shown you. None of these 25 by 50 or 15 meter lots meets the current bylaw requirement for lot size or lot frontage or lot area for a low-rise apartment, or even for a 3-unit dwelling in the current zoning bylaw. Recent intensification includes 3-story buildings, some single-family, 1 back-to-back semi with 5 or 6 units, and another back-to-back semi with 4 units built on a severed lot with variances, which you dealt with a while back. Most of these new buildings have been built according to the zoning bylaw, since most of them did not require any variances. We agree that this area needs more smaller units, but a variety of units, including those that can accommodate families. The proposal claims to conform to the character of the street because of the common lot size and predominance of side yards that do not meet the current bylaw. But most of the houses on this street, although they may have very narrow side yards on one side, they have a driveway on the other side, because it's in the old days when people had a driveway leading to the garage in the backyard. And we certainly aren't asking to see that. The zoning bylaw, well, I guess I should say the applicant claims that they should be granted the same performance standards as a single-family dwelling. However, this current zoning bylaw distinguishes between performance standards for singles and low-rise apartments, requiring wider side yards for the latter. And we agree the new official plan does recommend that these standards be relaxed to facilitate intensification. The relief required does not result in a functional site. We have several issues. Some of them have actually been mentioned in earlier. The amount of garbage that has to be moved from front to back, HVAC units, where will they be located? And there are just more residents coming and going throughout the day, and entrances, doors in this case are in the side yard. Can I just do a quick conclusion? This application does not conform to the general intent and purpose of the official plan with respect to the provision of a variety of unit sizes, does not conform to the zoning bylaw with respect to functionality of the proposed reduced side yards, and the varied side yards are not minor because they have an adverse impact on the neighbors, which you will probably hear about from them in person or online. We request that the committee reject this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hode. Any questions for our speaker from panel members? Okay, before you go, I'm going to ask Mr. Kelly, did you want to respond to some of that?
I would just state with respect to the official plan, in terms of variety of unit sizes, of course, this building only has one type of unit provided, but it does add to the mix and diversity in the entire street and neighborhood. And then with respect to the side yards, we can talk about that in more detail later. Just with respect to the 1.2 meter wide side yard setback on the north side, I did review the zoning, and we also had a previous project approved by this panel on panel 1 with the exact same built form and side yards on the north and south. So it is a conforming provision.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to, you raised one thing, Ms. Hode, and it's true. The zoning bylaw right now does contain a lot of different performance standards based on the typology. And I know that's something that they want to, I think, maybe planning staff can correct me, but my sense is they want to get away from that, from you know, having to differentiate between typologies and move more towards just the function of the structure, whatever it is, and not focus too much on the number of units and that kind of thing. Anyway, just, I think we're gonna see more of that. That's all I guess I'm saying at the end of the day. Okay, there were other issues though, Mr. Kelly, that were raised by Ms. Hode that has to do with the functionality of the site, like garbage and the access by the tenants. So did you want to walk us through how you thought maybe that's gonna work if we can put your site plan back up?
Absolutely.
All right.
So perhaps the site plan might be the first one that we could look at. We could also look at the elevations as to provide a bit more detail.
Let's start with the site plan, just so we can look at the garbage areas and that kind of thing.
So I can, while we're waiting for that to come up, I can note the bicycle parking and garbage will be in separate enclosures. What's proposed there is large enough for an 8-unit dwelling, based on standards of the zoning bylaw. Our client is committing to 8 bicycle parking spaces at a minimum in the rear yard. If that needs to be enlarged to accommodate that, he will do so.
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a minute? Can we get sort of more of the slide view, not the notes, and maybe we can see it a little bit? Sorry, we're not seeing, we have tiny little screens here, so I know it's up there. It's tough to see.
Oh, understood.
Okay, at least we're seeing, okay.
Meantime, Madam Chair, just clarifying the number, so it's 8 units, but you said they're all going to be the same type. I couldn't find it quickly in my package. Is it all 1 bedrooms?
1 bedrooms, and they range, there will be a refinement, but it's between 500 and 600 square feet per unit.
And no parking again?
No parking provided, no.
Okay.
And also, I guess I can just kind of speak to it while we're waiting for the slides to go up, but access will be from the center of the building. There's a stairway in the middle. And basically that provides access to each of the 4 stories, 1 below grade and 3 above. And there will also be access to the front unit at grade from the street.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then I'll continue on the
Yeah, go ahead.
on the south side. There are 2 doors there. Those are only meant for egress, the emergency egress. So the main entrances will be from the north with the 1.2 meter wide side yard.
All right, there's a question, Member Decaye. Okay, all right, so we have the site plan back up. Okay, so just walk us through that access to, like, the garbage and the access to the building.
Sure. So I'll start from the front. So off of Hamilton Avenue North, there's access to the ground floor unit from the street. Then moving down the 1.2 meter wide walkway, there will be a door at the center of the building, providing access to the rest of the units from that location. And then, of course, continuing back into the rear yard, there is a separate garbage and bicycle enclosure to facilitate storage of garbage and bicycles. And as I mentioned, there will be 8 bicycle parking spaces provided. And we also meet the minimum requirements for soft landscaping in the front and rear yards. I'll also mention, which I didn't mention in my presentation, the client is looking into having a tree planted in the front yard if it will survive, and also one in the rear yard.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, those are my questions. Those are, I guess, the questions based on Ms. Hode's presentation. So we're going to go on to the next speaker, which is Ms. Stewart. Good afternoon.
Nervous. This is, it's nerve-wracking speaking in front of people, and this is a little bit emotional for me. I live at 104 Hamilton. I'm directly south of the property that's in question here. So we're the 0.6 meter variance that's being requested. So obviously that, to me, to start with, that's more than a 60% reduction in what is suggested in the current bylaws. That doesn't seem like a minor variance to me. That seems pretty substantial. Now, maybe I'm, being directly impacted by it, it does seem like a bigger deal to me. But the proximity of this building, it just seems so overwhelming compared to our relatively small old home. There's a door on that side, which means that within a couple of meters of our bedroom windows, there will be a door. It's extremely close. I know they keep saying that it's equivalent to other property sizes in the neighborhood, but those are detached homes or much smaller density homes. And I understand the city wants to build density, and I agree that it's really important. But this is going to have a serious impact on our home and the privacy of our home, the noise coming from people going in and out of those doors, the access to the garbage in the backyard. It's so much on such a small lot. It's 25 by 100 feet. This is such a small lot, even within the urban core, to have something built of this size. So we're really concerned about that. I know you don't address parking issues, but parking in the neighborhood is a serious problem, and traffic in the neighborhood is a serious problem. In the wintertime, with the snowbanks on the street and cars parked on the street, and they are there every day, parking on the street is at capacity. It is a one-lane street. You can't have two cars passing each other. And frequently, after school, there's a school bus that has to make the left off Tyndall onto Hamilton and has to back into Tyndall, into traffic, to actually make that turn when there's snowbanks on the street, because it's so congested in the neighborhood. So having this density right there really just sort of builds on this ever-increasing issue we're seeing. It's just a little bit overwhelming. I have concerns about the size of the property and the proximity in the backyard. We've got a cedar hedge there that is over 40 years old, which I know how old it was because my grandfather planted it. I've lived in that home off and on, as an adult. I moved out, but moved back after my mom passed. But I've been in that home since 1979. So it has this, sorry.
Take your time, that's fine. We really do want to hear from you, and we appreciate that you're here, so just take your time.
Thank you. Yeah, I just feel like there's been very little consultation from the developer. They haven't approached us at all, even though our driveway directly abuts. It is directly on the property line. They have not talked to us at all about any of this. They don't know where they plan to put their HVAC units yet. They could, in theory, be in that 0.6 meter on the south side, so directly across from our home, directly across from our bedroom windows. It's a very small space. I think I'll stop there. Sorry, I'm just feeling a little bit overwhelmed.
Okay, I think you did provide written comments? Okay, all right, that's good. We've got them. Okay, any questions then for Ms. Stewart? All right, do appreciate, like I said, you're coming to chat with us about, to drive home the point, the dimensions of the lot are very small for what's being proposed, that kind of thing. So, so thank you for coming forward. Oh, go ahead.
Not a question for you, Ms. Stewart, but just a clarification. And again, it goes back to my question that I asked earlier. If this were a single family dwelling, the 0.6 meter would be in conformity with the bylaw. Am I correct in understanding? Is that correct?
That's
or
correct.
Would it be? So I think that's just to be aware that if a single family home went there, they could build that close to you.
And I do.
But I understand your concern that there's a difference between a single family dwelling and what's being proposed. But I just want to.
There's a big difference between a single family dwelling and an 8-unit. Oh, I think it's on.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry. An 8-unit building with potentially 16 people living in it. There's a big difference. And I know the city is trying not to recognize that in its development plans, and I understand that, but as a community, we're feeling a little bit thrown under the bus here because the concerns from the community just don't seem to matter. And that's.
And
disappointing.
I take that point. So maybe if I could just push this a little further, Madam Chair. How many units could you put in the building and still conform to the bylaw? Like you're saying 8 because you want to go to 8, it's requiring the variances. Would a 6-unit building comply with the bylaw? Like where is that? Or maybe staff might be the better people to answer.
Yeah, let's get that answer from staff, please, because I suspect it's a lot less than 6.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the zoning table now, and based on the area and width, there would be 2 dwelling units.
2 dwelling. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We're going to go on to our next speaker then. Looking for Mr. Whitehead. Do we have Mr. Whitehead online? Not in here.
Madam Chair, he's online.
All right, thank you. How are we doing?
Madam Chair, he's not accepting the invitation to join the hearing.
He's not accepting. All right, then you know what we'll do is let's see if we can.
Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you. This is Mr. White.
I was trying to accept, so I'm not sure what was going on there. It doesn't look like I have video. I'm not sure why.
All right, but we can hear you. So
Perfect. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead then, Mr. Whitehead.
So I'll be relatively brief here. When we look through the 4 tests, I'm at 106 Hamilton Avenue North, so just south of Laura, so just 2 lots down. If we took the 8 units and we applied it to the evolving overlay for the official plan and the expected density, we would get to 332 units per hectare if we put 8 units on this across, and we followed that all the way through, which is 1 of 4 times the city's official plan guideline of 60 to 80 units per hectare for our neighborhood designation. General intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw isn't maintained. We talked about that again. We've talked about the sort of the amount of that they need to have the variances for this 8-unit dwelling. The variances are not desirable for the appropriate development of land. In the presentation, the consultant listed a number of multi-units. Again, those are 3 units at the end at 44 and 3 further up the street, and then 2 across the street. As Laura said, the variances are not minor in nature. They are a heavy percentage, higher 60% variations on that. So I challenge that. So I think on those four tests, it fails. They can't fail any of them. So I oppose it. And again, I just to highlight to the committee, it is a busy, vibrant, fantastic street. Got no problem with infill, but we don't have anything like eight units, 16 people. And again, it's been highlighted. People are asking it. I've got questions on how those side doors to the south could possibly work for whether it's emergency or not with the tightness and snow. And I do question how folks would be able to bring garbage recycling from the back through the front. And the driveway to the north obviously needs to maintain for the parking that is in the unit or in the dwelling to the north. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Any questions from the panel members for Mr. Whitehead? Go ahead, Member Dakegi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So not for Mr. Whitehead, but in response to something that Mr. Whitehead has raised about I recall in, I think your presentation, you talked, I think it was 91 Hamilton was something that was like virtually identical. And Mr. White had mentioned, you know, you had, and I'm trying to make an inference here and I don't know if that's exactly what he means. But in that, he said that those equivalent versions that were shown were not 8 units, they were 3. And so just if you could clarify the ones that you showed us with the pictures of like, these are comparables, are any of those 8 units or are they, you're not sure? Just if you could. speak to
Unsure
that.
exactly, but not 8.
Not 8, okay.
They're multi-units. I think the 44 Hamilton appears to be 4. And the other is 91 is a detached dwelling. It might have an additional unit. And then the semis also might have additional units, but they're semis.
Yeah, I think one of the pictures you had in your presentation showed that it was like almost identical. It sounded like you were designing it off of that one to have it kind of look and feel of the same neighborhood.
Two separate things. So the
Okay.
density argument
Yeah.
from the official plan is just that it's near transit within walking distance of Chinese Pasture Station. It's near Main Street and minor corridors within 300 meters radius of both of those. And the city looks for intensification targets. So of course, this particular project on a small lot might exceed that target, but in the neighborhood as a whole, it would definitely be, you know, watered down, I guess I could say, by the other presence of smaller unit counts in similar sized properties. And then the other point is failing me at the points at the.
Oh, it was just that 91 Hamilton where I recall you saying
Yes.
almost identical. So I was curious of whether it was also 8 units.
Thank you. Second point about
Yeah.
built form. That is the second argument is that it's essentially the exact same form of building being proposed. And it just has more units in it, but it looks exactly the same from the street as 91 Hamilton would, without the parking space, of course.
All right, anyone else? Nope. Member Blathwick.
Do we have elevations for this proposal? Because if we do, I'd like to see the north elevation with the side doors. Please.
So Kelly, they're part of your presentation? Yeah.
We do have it, yes.
And Mr. Kelly, again, what's the reason for those side doors in the middle of the side elevation of the building?
The doors in the middle are providing access to a central staircase, which provides access to each of the units located in the front and the back of the building. So one unit on each of the front and the rear, separated by a common staircase.
So those are main access points?
Yes, they are. That is the main door to the building. The doors on the south are for exit only.
So those are the main entrances to how many units in the building?
8 in total.
And you're providing a 0.6 meter sidewalk width.
On the south side, this is the north side.
Okay.
And actually, just to clarify that as well, the building setback is 0.6 meters on
I'm
the
looking
south.
at the north elevation and I'm looking at this, and the north elevation is here, is it not?
This is the north elevation.
Okay, so I'm looking at, that's this part of the site plan right here.
I'm unsure of the orientation that you're looking at it.
Well, it's your report, Mr. Kelly.
North is facing this way.
Hmm?
So north
Oh.
is facing that.
North going, oh, the north key's the other way. All right, and the south, okay, and if I could take a look at the south elevation then? So that door in the middle of the building is a secondary entrance?
It's an exit only.
Exit only.
And it is cantilevered. I believe it's 0.9 meters, so it's sufficient for exit from the building.
So that's inset from
It
the
is.
building wall. How far?
I believe it's 0.9 meters from the lot line. And 1.5 meters total from the abutting lot to the north, to the south.
All right. You know, I don't met the public's made comments about the pricing of the HVAC units, but I guess that's premature at this point. But I'm assuming there's going to be gas meters on this site.
I have no idea. I would assume they're going to be individually metered.
Okay. Because you've got requirements with the gas company as far as separation distances from property lines and that thing, as you well know. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, now it's me who's confused here because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about our speaker, Ms. Stewart. And she talked about a door that would be pretty much in line with a bedroom, if I understood things correctly. That's that door. Is that not what we're talking about here?
That is correct.
All right. And you're saying that this is just an exit only? And how far from the lot line did you say that?
The site plan shows the dimension.
But I'm just looking at, so you have a south interior side yard setback of 0.6.
From the
So-
building, correct.
From the building. Is that from the stairs or from the face of the building? So if you're
Face of the
saying,
building, so it's inset.
sorry, so are they the stairs? If we can have that elevation back again, I'd appreciate it. Are the stairs then inside the wall, the side wall of the building, or is it on the outside?
It's outside the building. The second and third floors cantilever over the grade level, first floor.
I see. Okay, all right. So the distance actually from that door then to the lot line is what?
If you can pull up the site plan, it's on there.
Right.
I have it.
Okay, so we'll go back to the site plan. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so it's 0.9 meters from the lot line to the inset portion of the ground level.
Okay,
And then the total setback from the building face to the adjacent property on the south is 1.5 meters.
sorry. From the door, let's talk about just the door. The
It's
door,
greater than that. It would be 1.8,
okay, all right, thank you very much.
give or take.
That helps me immensely, thank you. Any other questions? Because I'm going to do a general call out. That was the end of my list. So is there anyone else in the audience? Come on down. Oh, I've got two. All right, we'll go with this gentleman first and then we'll go with you. I'll need your name and your full address, please.
Yeah, my name is Dale Costello and I'm the owner at 9698 Hamilton to the north of the property being proposed. I'm the landlord of the building, but I live in Chelsea, Quebec. I've already written to the committee, so you have my address.
Perfect. So go ahead.
I have a concern about the 1.2 meter pathway going down the laneway. It's referred to as at grade in their proposal, but in actuality, it's a raised ramp. So I have concerns about how that's going to be handled in the winter. The fact that it's a concrete block running down the side of their property, the snow that used to sit next to the existing building will push in further into the laneway, so that will affect the functionality of the laneway for the 2.86 meters that I have on my side of the property. And as well, where are they going to place the snow? I have, without a doubt, they'll just shovel it off and place it into the laneway. It's not clear how their snow removal process will work. Also, if they're going to be putting a fence down or if it's going to be a railing on that concrete block, how will that be affected? It's not clear in the plan. That was my main concern.
Okay, I'm going to then get Mr. Kelly to respond, please.
Yes, so it is a raised concrete ramp providing access from Hamilton Avenue to the rear yard. With respect to snow clearing, our client will have obviously snow clearing in the winter for the rental building. So I certainly can address the fact that it will not be poured onto the neighboring property. And we can certainly make that clear to our client as well that there's a concern. With respect to a rail, my client has indicated that it will be fully within the property line and there is no access easement or anything over the abutting property. So he's well within his rights to do that.
If I understood Mr. Costello's concern, it's the idea that when snow builds up on the ramp, if you don't have a fence or a railing or something, then there's nothing to prevent that snow from spilling over onto his laneway. So what's the plan for that?
Well, I can bring that back to our client and he can certainly make sure that that's prevented.
Mr. Costello, did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, it's just common sense that it's going to, you've got a snow bank, right? And now there's a concrete block, so the snow just shifts from the side of the building that's there now further in because the concrete block is there. You know what I mean? So if it was at grade, that's my other concern. Why are they saying it's at grade when it's actually a raised concrete block? How can they say that?
Well, it's still within, so at grade doesn't necessarily mean that it's on a second floor. It's at grade can be, you can have a change in grade, right?
Okay.
So on a property, it's still at grade, meaning that it's not like a floor height. So
Okay.
that's what they really mean by that.
Okay, so it's still permitted to have a
Yes.
sloping ramp. Okay.
Yes, in fact, you could make arguments that there are accessibility ramps all over the city that have exactly that, right? And we don't call them second-story ramps, they're at grade,
okay.
right? Okay, if there's nothing else, then I'm going to go on to the next speaker, who was the gentleman on my left.
Just one more thing. You will review the letters that I submitted?
Yes, we do. We
Okay,
do have the
yeah,
letters.
because I have a
Thank you.
couple of things in there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Gray.
Hello. So you know I'm with the Westboro Community Association, but the community associations in Kitchissippi are pretty tight. We've got we call it the K9 because there are 9 community associations. So I'm really here today to really support the Hindenburg Community Association. And we have had a little discussion on it. And we see this as a very important application because of where it is going. So essentially, I couldn't understand originally why I'm always trying to figure out what the intent of these bylaws are. And fortunately, in this situation, the city did a R4 zoning review back in 2019, and that resulted in the changes in the zoning and adding those 4 subzones. So I was able to read it and get an understanding of why they added those 4 zones and the whole R4 zoning. And they looked at it very carefully, and they even went to the trouble of hiring an architect, Miss Hill. I'm sure you remember her. She's here fairly regularly. And what she did was did some assessments. She drew plans, rough plans for each type of unit or lot size, all the way from 18 down to 10. And to see how those size properties could help with the missing middle. And she actually, and the report makes it very easy for a layman like me to understand. So what is happening here is that the smallest property you could build an apartment building, low-rise apartment, used to be 12 meters. And because of that rezoning, the review, they brought in an additional subzone that you could have a 10-meter wide property. And they worked on that to see what kind of units they could fit within that number of units, and 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms. And so, it all makes sense. You can read it, and I understand the rationale. But now what we're getting now is we're in 5 years, less than 5 years. Now we want to bring that down to 7.5 or 7.6. And that's kind of pushing it. I don't see the rationale in there in Novatech's cover letter for that. So, I really have concerns that Novatech are making these comparisons but they're not apples to apples. They're apples to oranges. And yes, I understand about, the building form and whatnot, but they're using those setbacks from, detached or semi-detached and making a comparison or comparing those setbacks to a low-rise building. And you're hearing from the residents that they don't see that as a fair comparison. There's a lot of different things that come with, a low-rise apartment building, and we're hearing about it in Westboro. The other thing I'm concerned about is that if you were to allow this, you're basically writing, I don't want to use this word, but you're condemning all the properties in that area, in that R4 to become low-rise buildings. That's what you're saying, because as I pointed out, they're 50-foot lots. They've been divided in half. They're down to this, 7.5 or 25-foot lots. And I don't think the intent of the review was to allow that to happen. There are 8 properties on that street that are large enough,
Mr. Gray, 30 seconds, okay?
That are large enough to accommodate, a decent sized low-rise building. And what we're doing here is you're taking away a property that could have a semi-detached or detached home on it. And what we're looking for is a, diverse amount of dwellings. And that's really my one fear. One quick thing, if I can.
You're right down to like
One
couple seconds.
thing about the 1.5 meter walkway. In the application just before us, the city asked for a 1.5 meter walkway to the bicycle and garbage in the back of that property. They wanted a 1.5 meter, and I think your colleague is correct that, that is the bare minimum it should be. 1.5 is the access to the rear. I'm
right.
sorry for going over there.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Questions from panel members, Mr. Gray? Okay. All right. I'm going to do a last call out to anyone else in the audience or online. Yes, we've got somebody.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have a Trevor Turner online.
While we wait, Madam Chair, may I ask a question? So we've heard a lot from a number of speakers, and we looked at, you said you had different, you showed up some comparable pictures or what you were considering. Can you speak to what other designs you had in mind? So were you considering, we've seen a various amount of types of applications before us where it's, low-rise apartment versus sometimes we see different ones where they have secondary suites and primary. Can you just speak to what made you choose this one, maybe over some alternative design types from the kind of overall macro level?
So I can't speak to that. Our client came to us with this proposal. He also did mention he considered long semis, which he might be able to do as of right in the new zoning. I'm not sure. So that's kind of, we came with this proposal and that's all we've got.
Okay, thank you.
How are we doing with Mr. Turner?
He seems to be having issues connecting, so we're just gonna try a different.
I guess while we're waiting again, I guess I just want to get some sense. We're going to give you, Mr. Kelly, of course, some time at the end to come, to summarize and recap some of your points. But I'm getting the sense that maybe we will be reserving on this one. Okay, just so. All right.
So,
we
Madam
have-
Chair, we're not going to have a picture. It'll just be audio.
That's fine. That's fine. Mr. Turner. Still not with us?
He just needs to unmute.
So, Mr. Turner, if you can hear us, you are apparently on mute. All right, is there any other way to reach Mr. Turner?
When he received the invitation for Zoom, there would be a phone number to call. If he can do that, then we can let him in.
We just have to make sure it can patch into the system. So is there a way for us to do that, to call him?
He said, sorry, you can just move on.
All right, okay. Is there anyone else then in the audience or online that'd like to speak to this application? I'm not seeing anybody else, so Mr. Kelly, the floor is yours to recap.
Thank you. So just a few points. Again, thanks for the opportunity to present this application. I just wanted to make a few quick remarks. So I'll remind the panel that you do have a professional planning report from staff indicating no concerns with the applications before you, and we concur with that position. Our client will adhere to all required building code and construction requirements, and just in response to the comments from neighbors, he'll definitely reach out to them and try to make things right. So with respect to the comments on intensification, the subject site, again, is located within proximity to Tony's Pasture Station, a short walking distance from Wellington Street corridor, and it's located within the evolving neighborhood overlay. So policies of the official plan in that regard are supportive of proposals which seek to amend the zoning standards of the R4 UB zone to facilitate infill intensification. So in this case, a proposal for an 8-unit low-rise apartment building represents that exact type of scenario. And it will contribute to gentle intensification of the urban area in a compatible building form. Then with respect to built form, also remind the panel in that case, there are existing examples of 3-story dwellings along Hamilton Avenue. The building form, size, and scale are designed to fit within the existing context. And I'll also remind you, I think I mentioned it earlier, this panel did approve a very similar project on a smaller lot in the Somerset ward in February 2024. It's essentially the exact same building. So it's just our opinion that this application meets the 4 tests and it represents good land use planning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kelly. So the panel is reserving. So you'll get the decision in the 10 days.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to take just a 5-minute break before we get to our last application. All right, everyone, I think we're all back. So we're going to hear now the last application, number 271 Arlington. Mr. Sun, come on forward, and thanks for your patience today. We had a number of applications that required some discussion, so appreciate that. And I can tell you, we are looking forward to your presentation. So whenever you're ready, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Chang. This is the architect. I'm living in Canada, 33 Willow Glen Drive. This is my colleague, structural engineer, Bin. So we do have the presentation. Can we see the screen first? Yeah, sorry. Our application is a minor variance application for the new 8-unit apartment building, low-rise apartment building at 271 Arlington Avenue. And next slide, please. So I will propose the 8-unit, 3-story high apartment building has 3 2-bedroom unit and 5 1-bedroom unit, including 1 beer-free. So 4 minor variants we apply for is reduce the lot width to the 9.18 meter from 10 meter, and reduce the lot area from 300 square meter to the 279 square meter, and reduce rear yard setback to the 7.58 meter from 9.08 meter, 25% from 30%. And also we apply for reduced interior yard, side yard setback from 1.5 meter to the 1.2 and 1.35 meter. Next slide, please. So this is the big picture where the property located. So it's at the downtown core. It's a downtown core transit, very close to all of the public transit and office and grocery store. A great location. It's just at the corner of the Bronx Avenue and the 470 highway. Next slide, please. So this is official plan showing this as a downtown core. According to the OP 2022, so this location is promoting the residential intensification, providing more opportunity for the missing middle housing. So in the following slide, I will give a definition of what is the missing middle housing. In the official plan, this location even allow 4-story building. Next slide, please. Also, this property is in the overlay involving neighborhood. Same again, for the policy, this allow different option of the house dwelling unit in terms different the size, different tenant, and also promote missing middle housing in this location. Next slide, please. And further review this property in the secondary plan, which is the central and east downtown core. And also from the policy is will promote again more different housing units in different type, even not existing in the existing neighborhood. Next slide, please. So this diagram is showing highlight that yellow block where the property is allow 4-story building even. Next slide, please. So this is a reference from the 2022 official plan. So what is missing middle housing is at the bottom. In downtown Ottawa contact and for the purpose of this plan, missing middle housing generally refer to the low-rise, multiple unit residential development of between 3 and 16 units. and more in case of the unusually large lot, and for the low density type, it's typically ground oriented. Next slide, please. So this, I provide two typical floor plans showing how we meet missing middle housing. This is the ground floor. At the back rear yard, we provide 1-bedroom bear-free unit. At the front is a 1-bedroom unit. This is ground floor. Next slide, please. And next slide, we're showing the second floor, but we provide at the back, it's 2-bedroom unit. At the front, 1-bedroom unit. So each unit, we believe, keep the reasonable the size, also meet the building code requirement. My understanding, only the building code requirement regulate what side of the bedroom, living room, and all of the space. So we meet all the requirements. And this is a good example of existing neighborhood. There already exists some multiple, oh, sorry. Keep looking at my screen. Next slide, please. Yes, so I walked through the neighborhood, reviewed a few blocks. So this is showing the existing neighborhood. We already have the multiple units, low rise. So some is a bigger scale, but some scale is identical to our proposal. Next slide, please. So we know we are under the new zoning draft 2 review. So this table showing in the new zoning, which will be looking forward in 2026 earlier. So all 4 minor variance we are applying now won't be a minor variance at all. So in new zoning, the site will be the 7.5 minimum width, and no requirement for the minimum lot size. And interior setback will be 1.2 meter. And rear yard setback will be set up to the 25%. Even there's clause in the new zoning draft 2. So maximum rear yard setback won't be cannot more than 7.5. So will be over the requirement. Next slide, please. So go for the forecast. This I'm talking about the reduced rear yard setback 25% from the 35%. So in current zoning bylaw, we do have another clause saying minimum rear yard area it to be 25%. Lot depth. So we are provide 25% of the lot depth in our proposal. So we meet this requirement. So even with reduced rear yard setback, we are satisfied all of the requirements for the soft landscaping at the rear yard. So the number in right highlight showing how much we will provide. So there's a requirement for the 25 square meter of the one single landscaping. So the top left, that right square showing that is 25 square meter landscaping. And yeah, next slide, please. And second, talking about the interior setback. So on the left is the survey we have. So the building now is just really close to the right property line. So on that side, we are applying for 1.3 meter. We are being further away from the neighbor and the site improvement. On the left side, now there's a foot traffic go to the basement, and there's a big the balcony or deck at the rear yard. So in our proposal, even though we have 1.5 meter, but fully will be the green space, no traffic again, we are improve site is site improvement. Next slide, please. Still talking about the interior side yard. So again, there are many photos and many houses in the existing neighborhood along Arlington Avenue, very close to my site, showing the existing neighborhood. The interior yard is well established, less than 1.2 meter. And next slide, please. Oh, can you give me? Even some new development on the top row. So that is the multiple low-rise apartment. So his rear yard, interior side yard setback is 2 feet, 0.6. New build, yeah. The next slide, please. Another slide showing the existing neighborhood, how much the interior yard setback. On the bottom right, this is another new build and multiple unit. It's low-rise apartment, and his interior yard setback is 1.2. The similar scale is my proposed at 275. Next slide, please. Now it's talking about the minor variance reduce the lot size and the lot width. My understanding, the intent or purpose of the zoning bylaw on this provision is make sure the site big and wide enough to suit the low-rise apartment, and also preserve screen space for the tree, and also provide a sidewalk to the rear yard. And my plan and demonstrate even with smaller lot, we still can, by the site planning and architectural design, we still can fit the building, meet the purpose. And also by reduce the size, little bit the size and width, we can provide 8 units. We can upgrade unit from the 1 bedroom to the 2 bedroom. I can accommodate 1 beer-free bedroom. Next slide, please. Here I showing the same photo, is the same identical project. Is this lot is new development. The lot width is smaller than 10 meter. It's 9.35. The address is 107 Arlington Avenue. And again, I just quoted the new zoning bylaw draft 2, saying in the future, new zoning will be the interior setback will be 2.4 meter wide, and the lot width will be 7.5 wide. So we are wider than the required in the new zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So this is for the if the variance is desirable for the proper development of or use the property. So as I mentioned before in a previous slide, so the proposal will be provide more housing unit, and for the intensification of to accommodate the growth of the city population, and also we provide missing middle housing unit in this neighborhood. And the intent and purpose of zoning bylaw is maintained. For the interior setback, zoning bylaw have this the 1.5 set up because my understanding is try to protect the neighbor. By the 1.2 interior yard setback, by the building code the exterior envelope will be fire rated. Also, the opening will be limited opening. So neighbor privacy or neighbor like fire protection is being protected by the building code related and so forth. Next slide, please. And this one, I just want continue talking about a little bit interior setback. You can see in the new zoning bylaw under the subzone B, even the 2 feet, 0.6 meter be allowed. And the bottom, just the code of the official plan to highlight additional housing in terms of the different size, different tenant will be promoted. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just take it back. Yeah, this one. So I don't want to read all of them, but just highlight at different level, the official plan, secondary plan, and all promote the intensification of this downtown core for the middle missing housing unit in different firm, different the size. Yeah. Next slide, please. So I just put 3 images together. So left existing house. The second will be the proposed building front elevation. So you can see existing and proposing is similar because we didn't asking any minor variance for the height increase. So it was still within the zoning bylaw allowance. And on the right is showing the site plan proposed. We are bringing much more green space. We still bring a lot of green space, and also provide function the access from at the right to the rear yard for the garbage management access. This is the next slide, please. The last will be last one. So we do have the tree information report from the registered forester. So we identify how many existing trees on site and what their condition. So you can see the backyard one, the big one, which I think is number 3 by my forester is identified as poor condition and dangerous. And we got the neighbor consent to remove this tree. And the second tree on the left, the interior side yard, it's purely owned by the owner. So, yes, this is our opinion. Our proposal is in public interest and meet all of the 4 tests.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sutton. That was a very comprehensive, well put together presentation, and we appreciate the effort that that you took to ensure that the committee had what it needs to consider the proposal. So well done. Questions? Yes, Member Coakley.
So I just want to pick up on a question that was asked of the previous people, and it's you're looking for a 1.2 setback. If we could perhaps go back to the second last slide, if you don't mind, because I think the answer to my question is on the slide, but I just want to make sure.
1.35.
Well, I was going actually on the, so thank you. So the one on the left, if I understand correctly, the green one, that's where you're seeking the 1.2 meters.
Correct.
On the right-hand side of the building,
yeah,
that is 1.5, which would 1.35.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the 1.5 that the city looks for access to garbage area. Although it does say 1.
Can I answer now? I do check the zoning, the section 143, 1A, 1AI zoning bylaw require minimum for the waste management is 1.2.
Okay.
So it's 1.2 is correct and being review.
Okay. But you do have that wider walkway or wider
Right, we
pathway
do
to be able
have,
to
so
get
like
back, to get garbage out.
6 inch wide landscape, put the fence, you know, little bit, so my walkway will be 1.2 wide. So the side yard will be 1.35. So we do have the little strict, allow put the fence, allow a little bit the grass beside the ramp, beside the walkway.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have my microphone. Anyone else? A member Blatherwick?
Mr. Sun, I'm just looking at the zoning bylaw, the one we have to deal with, which is the current zoning bylaw, not the one that hasn't been adopted.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at section 162.15E. And this refers to, and I'll quote, "The front yard and corner side yard must be equipped with solid permanent fixtures sufficient to prevent motor vehicle parking in contravention of this bylaw. And for greater clarity, such parking exclusion fixtures may include bicycle racks, benches, bollards, ornamental fences or garden walls, raised planters, trees, wheelchair lifting devices, or some combination thereof." And I'm looking at your site plan, and I'm just wondering, are you going to be planting trees in front of your house to prevent front yard parking at this location?
This been discussed with the early stage. I think my bicycle rack, which can be the permanent structure to stop the front yard parking. But city concern is more secure bicycle rack, so we moved the rear yard. But to achieve the same purpose, stop the front yard parking, we can put the seat. We can plant the tree. So that can deal with the building permit application. For sure, we will be implement the
I
city
think your
policy.
neighbors would probably appreciate a couple of trees.
Yeah. If you see
Given how many Centertown has lost in the last half a century.
actually in the TIR, we are going to plant 2 new trees, medium size at the front yard.
Okay.
So that will make sure there's no front parking at all.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions? All right, so I do believe I have somebody on my list of speakers, residents, Shadow Hélène, I guess, and Maria Renaud. Are these residents here? Come on down. Oui, désolée, je suis certaine que j'ai mal prononcé, mais vous pourriez me corriger pour le record de toute façon.
Alors, il est tard déjà, so maybe I'm going to speak French and English if you don't mind. This is not my first language, English, so I believe I can do that also in French.
Oui, absolument. Continuez en français, s'il vous plaît.
We'll see how it goes. So I guess you receive our concern. We are the 271 Arlington Avenue, just next door to the new development, Madam Chair. So we're going to start. We understand, we always live in cities. We understand densification, not a problem. But the main concern here is the trees for us. So the trees, they're talking about the photos. I think in our submission, maybe we didn't see that. I don't know if you had access to the video. We sent a video that shows that tree that is still very in good health in the back of that house, okay? There is a tree in the middle and provide a lot of shade. So I believe that I don't understand why they need to do 8 units. If they would be smaller, they would be able to keep that tree. That is really, really helping the communities. So that's really our main concern. We understand the fact that we're going to have more shade on our side. We have windows on the left side of the new development. We're going to live with that. We're going to lose some natural light, but this is life. But again, the trees for us is super important. Like the previous applicant, they showed apparently projects similar, and I don't believe they showed the number of units. We walk around our neighborhood. We try to find 8 units. we couldn't find any 8 units, except one on Arlington to Bronson, that is really a bigger lot. So I think I don't know if I can provide an opinion, but I think 4 units would be great, but 8 units. And when in our submission or concern, we do have a concern of the size of the units. I seriously I don't know how they can fit 3 2-bedrooms in that project and all the others. I don't know how much is going to help the neighborhood with that project. I'm sure it's going to be super small suite, but that's an opinion. So again, I don't believe it's going to fit with the neighborhood. And I know it's not part of it look like parking is not an issue, but I want to mention that this project, it's next to the highway. Most of the people own a vehicle, not bicycle, and it's going to be a nightmare for parking. Waste management is also an issue. As they mentioned, I didn't know the technicality of 1.2 versus 1.5. This is where the tenants, I guess, will have to go and get their garbage out of the backyard. It's going to be, I believe, a nightmare. It's not functional. I don't think it's functional for that size of a lot. We don't think so. So, I mean, it's already in our letter. I don't want to repeat everything. And there were also roof water displacement. And because we were listening to the others speakers, HVAC noise, all that noise pollution from eight units, we are used to 2 units, 1 unit, 3 or 4. Now you're bringing 8 units in the neighborhood. So again, for us, really, it's the green, it's the tree. I don't think we should allow somebody to cut trees for densification because you're creating another problem. Thank you.
Is it?
No, thank you very much.
No, okay.
Spoke up on behalf.
Okay, so to get to the tree issue, is Ms. Young still around here? I'd like to get her opinion on this. Ms. Young is with our forestry services, so we'll get her and we'll get some information from her if she's still available. No?
I don't see her online, Madam Chair.
So we have nobody from forestry now? All right, so who's speaking for Mr. Tieft today?
Madam Chair.
I was not expecting, I thought planners were here today. Normally we don't get 3, we get 2. So, all right, so Mr. Tieft, then since forestry is not here, can you tell us a little bit about that tree in the back? I think we heard from Mr. Sun that in fact it was in bad shape, but we need, there's obviously some further concern from neighbors in the area. So can you go through that for us, please?
For sure. I'm not a forester, but I've seen the report. And I haven't had any major issues with that one flagged apart from it indeed being in poor condition. It's a Manitoba maple. It's not structurally sound. So it was clear to be removed by the forester.
And just to be clear about which one this is the large tree it's in the property, but at the rear of the yard?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, so to our speakers, is that in fact the tree that you were concerned about? Okay, so I think we've heard that it's not in, at least according to arborists. So that's who has to do these studies for forestry services. It would appear that they do not think that it is in good shape.
So is this a report from City of Ottawa?
No, the tree information reports have to be submitted by the proponents, but there's standards about who can do those reports and who can't.
I would like to have an independent report done, and I'm happy to address that and pay for that.
If that's the case, just. So, like, it's kind of you to offer to do that. Did you not have access to some of this information before today? In terms of what so we saw from forestry comments in the planning report that they were okay with it. The only reason I ask you is because we can't further delay the hearing on this and making a decision on this to await your hiring of somebody to counter this report. We've heard from our forestry people, if they were concerned that there was in fact a problem with the I guess the quality of the report that was done, and I would have hoped that our forestry services would have said to us, you know, when it's too bad they're not here, because often they go see these trees as well. They're on the property. So I would have hoped that they would have told us if they felt that that there was something wrong with that report. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Madam President, can I add that there's 5 trees on that land? Not only this one, there's other trees. So you're going to lose, the city of Ottawa is going to lose all those trees. And in the plan, I think I saw that the sidewalk, they think it's going to be, they're going to do grass on the left side. There's no grass that's going to grow there.
I understand it's very narrow, and I understand your concern with regards to the actual sustainability of a piece of grass that would be 4 inches wide, 5 inches wide. So duly noted in terms of your concerns. I'm reading the forestry comments again, and they don't seem to think, they say all 4 proposed for removal due to their condition. There is permission that's been provided by the owner that's jointly with tree number 3 for its removal. The design and setbacks appear to provide adequate space to plant the 5 required compensation trees. So these are comments coming directly from our forestry staff. They're seeing no tree-related concerns with the requested variances, given the adequate replacement of affected trees.
So where do we see that?
It's in the planning report. Is this just to confirm with, it is on the website and it is available.
That's from Canada.
Okay, so
that's a third party.
February 20th was the date, so it's been available for some time. Okay, all right. That said, then I'm going to, we talked about some other things that, you know, we feel it's not compatible. Parking is, I think I made this comment earlier, no longer even being requested by the city. Noise pollution always possible, of course, but outside the purview of this committee. So it becomes more of a civil matter, not a planning matter necessarily. I think that was it. Do you have some concern about the number of units? There's no amendment or variance being requested in this case for relief from the zoning bylaw in that regard. So it's not before us. There's nothing we can do to say we think it's too much. It's not it's as of right under the bylaw. So can't do anything about that, regretfully. And that's, you know, so I think we've pretty much touched on all of your points. I'm going to make a last call out to anyone else who may have an interest in this application if they'd like to come forward, either here today or online. All right, I'm not seeing any. I will say this, though, this application is very similar to the previous application. I'm guessing members of the panel will likely want to reserve on this one as well, given the similarities. Okay, so we'll give you, though, Mr. Sun, a few minutes to recap if you'd like and address some of the concerns maybe that you heard today.
Not too much. I just really appreciate this opportunity for allow us to present our proposal. We do apply minor variance, but we do see this proposal will fit the existing neighborhood because my photo showing some existing and some new development is similar size. And then we're looking forward to new zoning bylaw next year, even promote more missing housing unit. And regarding the park, regarding the tree, I just like to appreciate your comment. But our reference purely from the registered arborist. So all conditions have been identified and 5 new trees will be planted on this site to bring back the green to this space. So I'm architect. So next step, if this proposal being approved, so the site plan will be detailed, the building will be finalized, the building code and all other regulation will be a play. So make sure this building will be fully respect appliance with all of the regulation. And this is my colleague, and my colleague will make sure structure will be sound. And site excavation will be the meet city standard. So that's my final comment.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sun. With that, then, as I said, we're reserving. You'll get the decision within 10 days. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming to address the committee. We do appreciate getting all the evidence that we need to make decisions. So thank you for taking the time and for staying. We don't normally go this late, unfortunately. So thank you again. And with that, I don't think we have any other business. So this committee then is fully adjourned.